starting from Douluo, shocking all the worlds. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction. So don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Period. Chapter 26 Target, Millennium Soul Beast. The appearance of Tang Ge surprised the Maya Omen woman a little. She didn't expect the other party to follow. It's just that she didn't relax her vigilance. Her eyes fell on Tang Ge, and she asked suspiciously, "Are you really a martial soul of the healing department?" "Of course, but before treating your companions, I need you to promise me one condition." Tang Ge nodded. The Maya Omen woman frowned and asked, "What conditions?" "Help me find a 1,000-year-old soul beast that meets my requirements," Tang Ge stated his conditions. That's right. After being separated from Grandmaster and Tang San, Tang Ge didn't intend to hunt the century-old soul beast, but directly set his target on the 1,000-year soul beast. After all, even Tang San could successfully absorb the nearly 400-year mandala snake spirit ring. And he can tear up a mandala snake with bare hands, and he has the physique of an ancient holy body. If he also absorbs a century-old soul ring, it would be overkill. So Tang Ge wanted to find a 1,000-year soul ring as his first soul ring. It's just that in the hunting soul forest, century-old soul beasts can still be found, but 1,000-year soul beasts are so rare that it's almost hard to find them. Now that he met a soul master with a martial soul that could perceive the age of soul beasts, how could Tang Ge easily miss it? Unfortunately, when hearing Tang Ge's request, the Maya Omen woman opposite refused without hesitation. "This is impossible. 1,000-year-old soul beasts are not something we can deal with." In the distance, the gloomy young man who was leaning against a tree to recover his soul power also saw Tang Ge. Thinking of the unpleasant experience before, a killing intent appeared on his face, and he spoke in a cold voice. This kid is not very strong at first glance. Why bother talking nonsense with him? Just arrest him. If he refuses to treat us, just kill him. I'm not very strong." Tang Ge raised his eyebrows and suddenly laughed. Then, before Maya Omen could react, he left the spot in an instant and rushed towards the gloomy young man. Tang Ge was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, he came in front of the gloomy young man, and then slapped him. The palm wind came whistling. The gloomy young man was taken aback, and stabbed him with a dagger without even thinking about it. Boom! With a dull sound, the dagger in the cold youth's hand was first slapped flying, and then the whole person was slapped to the ground. The slap just now not only caused severe pain all over his body, but also made his head buzz. After a while, the gloomy youth regained consciousness. He wanted to get up, but a foot stepped directly on him, and a mocking sound came from his ear. "How? Do you still feel weak now? You are despicable. Sneak attack on me." The gloomy young man's face was flushed, and he gritted his teeth in disobedience. Far away, Lady Maya Omen has come to her senses. But for some reason, she looked at the gloomy young man trampled on the ground by Tang Ge, and didn't make a move. As for Zhou Sen, the giant man with several thorns on his body, he had seen Tang Ge's power a long time ago, and he pretended not to see anything at this moment. Seeing this, Tang Ge showed satisfaction on his face. He didn't care about the gloomy young man who was still acting aggressive, looked at the Maya Omen woman and continued, "Don't worry. I just need you to help me find the 1,000-year-old soul beast. As for the matter of hunting the 1,000-year-old soul beast, it is natural to leave it to me. As long as you help, not only can I treat your injuries for free, but I can also take care of this prickly hedgehog for you." Originally Maya Omen woman didn't want to agree, but when she heard the other party's words to help the hedgehog, she hesitated in her heart. Looking down at the little girl with a weak and frightened face not far away, the Maya Omen woman gritted her teeth and finally nodded. "I'm not sure if they will agree or not, but as long as you can leave Xiao Chan with the last blow to kill the iron-tipped hedgehog, I promise to take you to find the 1,000-year-old soul beast." Xiao Chan should be the name of the little girl. Tang Ge could tell that the relationship between the little girl with a peculiar martial spirit and the Maya Omen woman in front of her seemed unusual. So when he heard Maya Omen's request, he immediately nodded in agreement. As for the cold young man and giant man Zhou Sen who were trampled on the ground, They had to choose to compromise in the end and accepted Tang Ge's treatment. When it was confirmed that he had fully recovered from his injuries, both the gloomy young man and the giant man Joseon were incomparably shocked. They really didn't expect that this young boy actually possessed a healing martial soul. But why is the opponent's strength so great? Is it also a mutant martial soul? At this time, Tang Ge had already shot the iron-tipped hedgehog covered by the barbed wire until he was left breathless, and was killed by the little girl with her eyes closed. Seeing the yellow halo emerging from the iron-tipped hedgehog, the Myoman woman was overjoyed and hurried to urge Xiaojin, quickly absorb this spirit ring. The little girl nodded, bravely summoned the spirit ring, and began to absorb and fuse it. Seeing this scene, the gloomy young man and giant man Joseon couldn't help showing a hint of envy in his eyes. And Myoman's eyes moved to Tang Ge's body. She bit her thin lip and said, "My name is Lin Yuee. Thank you for helping my sister, it's just helping each other." Tang Ge shook his head. Immediately, everyone stopped talking and waited quietly. About half an hour passed. The little girl successfully absorbed the soul ring, and as soon as it was over, she happily jumped up from the ground and ran to Lin Yuee. Sister, look, I have obtained a soul skill." As she said that, she summoned the transparent jelly martial soul, and a nearly transparent thin arrow was condensed out of the soul power, and suddenly flew out with a swoosh. Then, a big tree in the distance was directly pierced through the thick trunk by the thin arrow. Seeing this scene, the gloomy young man and giant man Joseon were envious to death. The Myoman woman, Lin Yuee, breathed a sigh of relief, then smiled and touched the little girl's head. "Xiao-chan is amazing." The little girl couldn't help laughing happily. At this time, Tang Ge suddenly said, "Since the soul ring has been absorbed, should I start to help me find the 1,000-year-old soul beast?" Hearing Tang Ge's words, the smiling little girl thought of what happened just now, and was so frightened that she quickly hid behind Lin Yuee. Seeing this, Tang Ge couldn't help but rolled his eyes. "Am I that scary looking?" Lin Yuee touched the little girl's head, telling her not to be afraid. Then she looked at Tang Ge, nodded and said, "With Xiaojin's current level of soul power, it should be no problem to locate a 1,000-year soul beast. But as long as you find the 1,000-year-old soul beast you need, I will leave with Xiaojin." "Well, as long as you find the 1,000-year-old soul beast I need, you can leave at any time." Tang Ge did not refuse. It is not too late. They didn't want to stay here any longer to waste time. After the little girl summoned the jelly spirit, they immediately followed the jelly spirit's induction into the dark woods again. Please recommend, ask for a reward, ask for 5-star praise. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 27 Millennium Soul Beast Dream Fox. Although he had seen the ability of the little girl's jelly martial soul to sense the soul beast before, Tang Ge was still amazed after seeing it again. What the master said is indeed true. There are no completely useless martial souls, only martial souls that cannot be used this way. Tang Ge saw that the originally transparent jelly Wuhan continuously changed from white to yellow, and then from yellow to white again, repeating the cycle. These constantly changing colors represent the existence of 10-year soul beasts and century-old soul beasts around the 5 people. And on the top of its body, there is a light arrow pointing to the hidden direction of the soul beast. Have to say, with this kind of jelly martial soul, in the huge hunting soul forest, there is no need to worry about finding a soul beast that suits you. Tang Ge was even more fortunate that he was lucky enough to meet this adventurous team. Otherwise, he doesn't know how long it will take to find a 1,000-year-old soul beast, period. The gloomy young man and the giant man Joseon also made a request to kill a century-old soul beast to obtain a soul ring, because both of them have reached level, soul power. This time I came to the soul hunting forest to obtain the second soul ring and break through to the realm of a great soul master. That's why when they saw the 100-year-old soul ring that emerged after the iron-tipped hedgehog was killed, the eyes of the two revealed envy. Just a pity. Tang Ge completely ignored the requests of the gloomy young man and the giant man, and did not allow them to leave. In this way, time slowly passed. Before I knew it, another day and night passed. Although with the help of the little girl's jelly martial soul, I also encountered many good quality century-old soul beasts during the period, but I still haven't encountered a 1,000-year soul beast. Tang Ge even wondered for a while whether there were 1,000-year-old soul beasts in the hunting soul forest. For this reason, he almost took a step back and chose the century-old soul beast. But fortunately, Things finally turned around the next morning. In a dark forest, the giant man Zhou Sen walked in the front holding a large shield, while the dagger youth walked around to guard against sudden attacks. Tang Ge, Lin Yue and the little girl Lin Yuchen walked in the middle. At this moment, the jelly martial spirit that had been held in the arms of the little girl Lin Yuchen trembled slightly, and the original white light began to change violently. Faintly visible, purple spots began to appear in the white light. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge was taken aback for a moment, and then he was overjoyed. He immediately said, "Stop first." Hearing Tang Ge's order, everyone immediately stopped moving forward, and then focused all their attention on the jelly spirit in the arms of the little girl Lin Yue. The purple dot represents the 1,000-year-old soul beast. Its appearance at this moment indicates that the jelly Wuhan has sensed that there are 1,000-year-old spirit beasts nearby. For a moment, everyone was extremely nervous, watching the changes in the jelly spirit while observing the surrounding situation. However, because there are not many purple light spots, white light still dominates. Tang Ge frowned, and was about to let the little girl gather the light arrows and point out the location of the 1,000-year-old soul beast. As a result, a beep sound suddenly sounded in front. This cry immediately attracted everyone's attention. At some point, a fox with colorful hair appeared on a thick and lush tree 7 or 8 meters away. It is half-nested on the branch at the moment, watching this side quietly with its slender fox eyes same time. The jelly martial soul in the little girl's bosom, which originally only had lavender light spots, also changed drastically, turning completely dark purple in the blink of an eye. 1,000-year soul beast. Seeing the appearance of the colorful furry fox and the transformation of the jelly spirit, the dagger youth stuttered in fright. Then he turned around without hesitation and fled towards the distance. But unfortunately, the young man with the dagger hadn't escaped a few meters, and he froze in place suddenly with another cry of, even weirder. There was no fear on the face of the dagger youth who froze in place, but an expression of enjoyment instead this moment. It wasn't just the dagger youth who froze in place strangely. Lin Yue, the little girl, and Zhou Sen who was holding the shield were all the same, with enjoyment on their faces. They seemed to be dreaming of something. "Hey!" the soul beast fox called again, and jumped directly from the branch to the ground with a graceful leap. After getting down, it slowly walked towards the nearest dagger youth, and it was faintly visible that purple soul power emanated from it every step it took. Puff. When he walked in front of the dagger youth, the soul beast vixen stood up, with a light wave of one front paw. The dagger youth's head flew out. Blood gushed out from his broken neck in an instant, and after the corpse fell, it immediately dyed the blue grass into blood red. Followed by Zhou Sen, the strong man holding the shield, also turned into a headless corpse. 7 or 8 meters away, Tang Ge's body, which was still, suddenly shook, and his eyes, which had been closed all the time, suddenly opened. Just seeing this scene, he was shocked in his heart. 2 soul masters with 19th level soul power were killed so easily? But then his attention shifted to the soul beast fox, and his eyes became hot. At this time, Tang Ge has already recognized the identity of the fox. It is a dream fox with a 1,000-year-old soul beast, which can confuse opponents through soul power. Once the confusion is successful, the opponent will fall into a beautiful environment. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Dream Fox can easily harvest opponents. Just now Tang Ge was caught off guard for a while, and was also hit. But fortunately, he has the physique of the ancient saint physique, which is quite resistant to this kind of spiritual attack, so he broke away quickly. But for Tang Ge, the dream fox with spiritual attacks is precisely the most suitable soul beast for him. Once the other party's soul ring is absorbed by him and he obtains this similar soul skill, it will have a great effect on his Wuhan yin-yang life and death diagram. Tang Ge didn't expect that his luck was so good that the first 1,000-year-old soul beast he met was the most suitable for him. As for whether he can kill the opponent, he is not worried at all. Same time, Dream Fox, who had just killed Dagger Youth and Giant Shield Zhou Sen, also noticed Tang Ge, who opened his eyes. Its slender fox eyes couldn't help revealing a touch of doubt. As if it couldn't figure out how this human being would wake up, so it yelped again. Suddenly, a strange force rushed towards Tang Ge. Tang Ge was prepared this time and was not affected, but he still closed his eyes and pretended to have a happy smile on his face. Seeing this, the fantasy fox walked over gracefully with small steps in satisfaction. One person and one fox are getting closer and closer. Finally, Dream Fox came to Tang Ge's body, stood up and raised its claws, revealing the sharp claws hidden in the fleshy palm. It was also at this moment that Tang Ge suddenly opened his eyes. And as he stretched out his right hand, a miniature sword slowly emerged from his palm. Please recommend, ask for a reward, ask for 5-star praise. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Kill, the First Soul Ring. If you don't make a move, it's fine. If you make a move, you will be thunderous. Facing the Dream Fox, a soul beast that has been at least 1,000 years old, Tang Ge didn't dare to be careless even if he had great self-confidence, let alone have the slightest reservation. With the summoning of the miniature sword, one of the 4 swords of Zuxian, the sword of killing immortal, the already dark forest environment suddenly became darker. Boundless depression was released from the immortal killing sword. The wind suddenly appeared and became extremely violent, raging in the woods and making a whistling sound. The sky was overcast and thunder began to rumble this moment. All the spirit beasts within a few miles were so frightened that they lay on the ground, trembling. As for the 1,000-year-old soul beast Dream Fox facing the immortal killing sword, it froze in place under the envelope of killing breath, and the fox's eyes were full of panic. Seeing that the fantasy fox could not move, Tang Ge was extremely surprised. The 4 swords of Jade Immortals is his strongest martial spirit, but due to the limitation of his own strength, he cannot use it yet. But summoning a sword is still no problem. So Tang Ge simply summoned the immortal killing sword, endured the pain that seemed to tear his body apart, and forcibly urged the immortal killing sword with his soul power to release a trace of aura. As a result, just this trace of breath leaked out, which not only caused a change in the sky, but also caused the oppressed Millennium Dream Fox to lose its power of action. It's just that the ancient holy body only has a fusion degree of 30% after all, and cannot withstand the backlash brought about by summoning this Huxin sword for a long time. Seeing that the Millennium Dream Fox had been restrained, Tang Ge didn't dare to waste time. While withdrawing the slaying immortal sword, he quickly summoned the yin-yang life-death diagram, which instantly became extremely huge after the soul power was injected into it. Sleepy, Tang Ge let out a low snort, and the gigantic yin-yang life and death diagram was like a hand, and when he scooped it down, he rolled up the fantasy fox. As the soul power was continuously consumed, it turned into yin power and invaded the body of Dream Fox one after another. Hey! The Dream Fox who had just recovered suddenly let out a shrill cry. The severe pain of being continuously corroded in the body made it feel a strong threat of death, and began to struggle desperately. Tang Ge's soul power also consumed rapidly. However, he didn't let the fox struggle wantonly. Taking advantage of the opportunity of the other party being trapped, he directly urged the power of the ancient holy body to rush over boom, 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 boom. Across a layer of martial soul, Tang Ge kept hitting Dream Fox's body with one punch after another. Every time he punches down, the terrifying strength combined with the power of yin invades the Dream Fox's body, and the 5 internal organs of the Dream Fox are directly blown apart. Scarlet blood gushed out of the Dream Fox's snout, dyeing its colorful hair blood red in an instant. The shrill screams became more and more ear-piercing. At last, seeing that the soul power in his body was almost exhausted, and the yin-yang life and death map of the martial soul became unstable, the badly injured Meng Meng who wanted to break free from it, Tang Ge, who had thrown countless punches, suddenly let out a low cry. Cloak hammer technique. At this moment, relying on the powerful physique of the ancient holy body, he used fists instead of hammers, concentrated all his strength on his right fist, and instantly used the chaotic wind hammer technique. Boom. Accompanied by the sound of heavy blows like thunder, Tang Ge's punch hit Dream Fox's head heavily. Hey! Dream Fox let out a desperate and shrill cry, and then the sound stopped abruptly. When the Wuhan yin-yang life and death map dispersed, a headless corpse fell to the ground immediately, and the scalding blood directly stained the surrounding ground red. Because the soul power was almost exhausted, Tang Ge was so tired that he squatted on the ground. However, when he saw a purple circle of light gradually condensing over the corpse of Dream Fox, a smile appeared on his slightly pale face. I can finally rest for a while. Then, Tang Ge closed his eyes and began to recover his exhausted soul power. During this period, because of the aura released by the immortal killing sword just now, There was no trace of a soul beast nearby. Lin Yue and the little girl, who had escaped by chance, were still in a coma and did not wake up. So Tang Ge was not worried about being disturbed. When recovering his soul power, he just set aside a little energy and paid attention to the outside world. Half an hour passed. Tang Ge opened his eyes again, and his pale face returned to rosy. Feeling the fully recovered soul power in his body, he glanced at the profile panel again, and he couldn't help but admire in a low voice. The 9-aperture golden elixir is worthy of the 9-aperture golden elixir. Not only has the soul power recovered so quickly, even the fusion of the desolate ancient Eucharistic physique has increased by 2 points following this battle. Sure enough, as long as there are resources to support it, fighting is the best way to improve the ancient holy body. At this moment, Tang Ge even wanted to stay in the hunting soul forest to fight with a 1,000-year-old soul beast, of course. He was just thinking about it, let alone whether the medicinal power of the 9-aperture golden elixir was enough to consume. It was great luck to find a 1,000-year-old soul beast. Just like the fantasy fox that was just killed. Thinking of the fantasy fox, Tang Ge immediately calmed down and stopped thinking about it, and turned his attention directly to the purple 1,000-year-old soul ring in front of him. Looking at the 1,000-year soul ring, Tang Ge's eyes sparkled. This soul ring just fits his martial soul. After absorbing the spirit ring first, after feeling his body and spirit which were already at their peak, Tang Ge sat cross-legged on the ground and then used his soul power to lightly hook his hands. The 1,000-year soul ring that was originally floating above the corpse of Dream Fox suddenly flew towards him. As soon as the soul ring was put on, Tang Ge heard a miserable cry in his mind, followed by an illusory fantasy fox that rushed towards him ferociously. HMPH. Come out to cause trouble even after you're dead, just be absorbed by me obediently, Tang Ge snorted, and he released the breath of Zhu Xianjian again. Just put it away. Even if it didn't even stay for a second, the illusory fantasy fox that just emerged was torn apart in an instant and disappeared completely. The originally fiercely resisting soul ring regained its calm. And the yin-yang life and death diagram that appeared slowly merged into it. And on the yin-yang life and death diagram that seems to be only black and white, there are other colors added at some point. However, Tang Ge didn't notice this situation. His consciousness at this moment has been completely concentrated in the body, and he is moving the soul power to move rapidly in his body. The soul power reserves that had reached the peak also began to grow rapidly. I do not know how long it has been. At the moment when a crackling sound of click sounded in the body, Tang Ge, who had been closing his eyes tightly, suddenly opened his left hand. The yin and yang diagram of life and death emerges from the palm of the hand. Under the feet, a clear purple halo condensed and slowly rose, and began to revolve around Tang Ge's body. This is the distinctive feature of a soul master with one ring. End of this chapter. Chapter 29. Milk can save people, can also kill. Tang Ge opened his eyes and saw the purple soul ring spinning around him. His eyes were burning, and he resisted the urge to laugh out loud, and directly called up the personal information panel, shocking system, host, Tang Ge, level, comma, soul master, martial soul, twin martial soul, yin and yang life and death diagram, 4 swords of Zuxian, spirit ring, yin yang life and death diagram, purple, soul skill, pleasure, martial skill, random cloaking windhammer method, physique, ancient saint physique, fusion 32%, shock value 3120. Compared with before, the personal data panel has undergone a lot of changes, directly adding a soul ring and soul skills option. More importantly, Tang Ge has been staying at the 10th level soul master and finally broke through. He jumped 2 levels from the 10th level soul master to the 13th level soul master. And his first soul ring completely surpassed the master's theoretical research, reaching the purple millennium level. Feeling the ever-increasing soul power after breaking the limit, and the surging power filling his body, Tang Ge couldn't help but mutter to himself with a smile. I really want to find the master now, and then see his shocked face. Afterwards, his attention was focused on the soul skill column again. Immediately, the information about the soul skills directly appeared in Tang Ge's mind. Soul skill, pleasure, initiative skill. When using the power of yin or yang, when performing the yin and yang diagram of life and death of the martial soul, incorporating joy can make the opponent's spirit in a state of joy and relax vigilance. Perhaps because of the fusion of the martial soul, the ability that originally belonged to the 1,000-year-old fantasy fox has undergone some changes. But such a change made Tang Ge very satisfied. This is exactly the skill of the first soul ring he envisioned before. Whether it is the power of yin or yang, it can be perfectly integrated and used. The only thing that puzzled Tang Ge was that he actually saw other colors in the yin-yang life and death diagram after the soul ring was fused. Could it be because of the influence of the spirit ring? But considering that Tang San's blue-silver grass also changed after fusing with the mandala snake spirit ring, he temporarily put away this worry. Looking at the 1,000-year-old dream fox who lost his head on the ground, Tang Ge didn't waste it, and directly put the body into the system space. Martial soul and soul ring were also taken back into his body by him. Just after finishing all this, with a groan, Lin Yue, who had fainted because of the breath of this Huxin sword, finally woke up slowly. At the same time, there was a soft voice full of confusion ringing beside my ears. "Sister, what happened just now?" Lin Yue heard the inquiry from the little girl who woke up next to her. She didn't answer, but looked at the two headless corpses not far away with shocked eyes. She recognized the two headless corpses as her two companions who had come with her. But now, these two people have all died here. Could it be the 1,000-year-old soul beast? Recalling the fox soul beast she saw before she fell into coma, Lin Yue's body trembled violently, and she couldn't help pulling the little girl into her arms. And she immediately looked around, looking for traces of the 1,000-year-old soul beast. In the end, Lin Yue didn't see the soul beast, but saw the young man who hired them to find the 1,000-year-old soul beast. He is still alive? Shocked in her heart, Lin Yue couldn't help blurting out, "Where's the 1,000-year-old soul beast? Did it kill you? I'm so handsome, even the 1,000-year-old soul beast is reluctant to kill me, so after killing those ugly and forced ones, I left," Tang Ge said with a dark face. If another man dared to say that in front of him, he would have to slap him to death. Seemingly realizing that she had said something wrong, Lin Yue blushed slightly, and quickly changed the subject. She asked, "Then continue to search for the 1,000-year-old soul beast. My business has been done, so I don't need to look for it anymore. So, you and your sister can leave the hunting forest with peace of mind." Tang Ge shook his head. But he thought of something, and then asked again. By the way, where are you going after you leave the hunting forest?" Because she got the answer that she no longer needs to look for the 1,000-year-old soul beast, Lin Yue's heart was relieved immediately. So she didn't think too much about why the other party asked her where she was going. She reached out and rubbed the little girl's head with a gentle expression on her face. This time the main purpose is to find a soul ring for Xiaochen. Now that she has successfully integrated the soul ring, I plan to take her to live in Soto City. Soto City? A light flashed in the depths of Tang Ge's eyes. Immediately, he nodded calmly. "Well, let's go, thank you." Although she didn't know what happened just now, Lin Yue knew that the fact that she and her sister survived must have something to do with the mysterious boy in front of her. However, Lin Yue didn't ask any further questions. After thanking the other party, she found a place to bury the bodies for the two temporary companions. Then she hurried away with her younger sister. Suddenly, only Tang Ge was left here. Feeling the forest that became quiet again, Tang Ge glanced around and couldn't help but smile slightly. It's a good place to test soul skills. Then he didn't leave, but directly found a clean place to sit down and started to practice. Time passed slowly. Unknowingly, in the afternoon, the scorching sun finally passed through the dense canopy, adding some light to the deep forest. With a rustling of leaves, a wild boar spirit beast with two sharp fangs suddenly emerged from a bush. This is the first-century-old soul beast to appear since the 1,000-year-old soul beast dream fox was killed. But because the breath left by the blood of the 1,000-year-old soul beast has not completely dissipated. After the wild boar soul beast appeared, although he saw Tang Ge sitting cross-legged on the ground, he hesitated, with vigilance in his tyrannical eyes. At this time, Tang Ge also opened his eyes. When he saw the wild boar soul beast 7 or 8 meters away, he suddenly smiled slightly. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." The words fall. Tang Ge raised his left hand, and at the same time as the yin-yang life and death diagram emerged, a strong yang force fused with a joyful soul skill flew away instantly. The wild boar soul beast was startled, and was about to rush over with its hooves on the ground. But when the yang force that flew over melted into its body, its 2-meter-high body froze first, and then fell to the ground with a plop. Humph, humph. Under Tang Ge's strange eyes, The ferocious wild boar soul beast was lying on the ground, with its limbs in the air, and howled comfortably. Even when Tang Ge walked up to it, it didn't respond at all. Looking at the wild boar soul beast lying in front of him with eyes closed and enjoying, Tang Ge's eyes became extraordinarily bright. Then he used his soul power, raised his palm and slapped it fiercely. The heart of the wild boar soul beast was instantly shattered with a puchi. Milk can save lives. Can also kill. Please recommend. Ask for a reward. Ask for a 5-star rating. End of this chapter. Chapter 30. My soul ring has died. Brothers and sisters, please recommend tickets. Ask for 5-star praise. Otherwise, I will dye your heads. The wild boar died peacefully without feeling the slightest pain. Tang Ge was very satisfied with this. Although the experimental body he chose was just a soul beast, not a human being, but the situation just now proved that his choice of the first soul ring characteristic was correct. With the support of the soul skill joy, maybe the yin power will be guarded by the enemy, and it will not play a big role. But the power of yang is fundamentally the power of life, full of vitality, and can heal injuries. If Tang Ge uses the power of yang to deal with the enemy, even if the power of yang invades the enemy's body, its strong vitality will not cause the enemy's body to resist. Essentially, he's healing the enemy in doing so. But if the soul skill joy is added, the healed enemy will be comfortably intoxicated by it then. This enemy will be easily killed by Tang Ge, just like the 100-year-old wild boar soul beast, and he will enjoy it when he dies. So, milk can save people, but it can also kill people. It's just, if my milk has too many enemies, will they give me the title of poisonous milk Douluo when my soul power reaches the title Douluo? Thinking of this, Tang Ge couldn't help but shudder. He didn't dare to continue to think wildly, calculated that the time he had stayed in the soul-splitting forest had already ceased. The master and Tang San might still be waiting outside. Afraid that the two of them would be worried, Tang Ge put away the wild boar soul beast's body and left here directly. Outside the hunting forest, at the exit, there are two figures waiting here. It is the master Yu Zhigang and Tang San. After they came out of the forest the night before, they didn't leave, but stayed and waited for Tang Ge to appear. It's just that this wait is nearly 2 days. Seeing that the students of the academy had started classes yesterday, but Tang Ge still did not come out of the hunting soul forest, Tang San began to feel anxious. In addition to worrying that the eligibility of the two-man student will be affected due to absenteeism, he is even more afraid that something will happen to his partner who grew up with him. On the side, aware of Tang San's worry, Master Yu Zhigang patted him on the shoulder and spoke to comfort him. Don't worry, Tang Ge's skin is very thick and fleshy. It is estimated that no soul beast can bite him, and nothing will happen to him. Let's wait here a little longer, and if he doesn't come out, we'll go in and look for him. Hearing what the teacher said, Tang San nodded. In this way, the two waited in place for another 2 hours. Seeing the sun moving westward and evening approaching, Yu Zhigang couldn't help feeling worried. Did something really happen? Just thinking about it, Tang San on the side suddenly shouted out in surprise. It's here, facing the golden sunset, in the dark soul hunting forest. A figure was heading towards this side quickly. In the blink of an eye, he came in front of the two of them. Who is it if it's not Tang Ge? Seeing Tang San and Yu Zhigang waiting here, Tang Ge couldn't help grinning, and said, Little San, Master, I kept you waiting for so long. Yu Zhigang's heart was finally relieved. He stepped forward and squeezed Tang Ge's arm, then patted his shoulder, and nodded in satisfaction. That's right, it's still as strong as before. It seems that it hasn't been bullied by spirit beasts during the time it disappeared. How about it? Have you found a spirit ring that suits you? As long as I don't bully the soul beast, how could I be bullied by the soul beast? Hearing the master's words, Tang Ge secretly slandered. But he didn't hide anything about the soul ring. After making sure that there was no one else around, he showed the soul ring without talking nonsense. The void fluctuated, and the yin and yang life and death diagram of Wuhan suddenly emerged from the palm of Tang Ge's left hand. Immediately afterwards, a large number of purple light spots appeared from under his feet, and then quickly condensed into a purple halo, which rose slowly and spun around his body under the sunset. The purple light shone around, and suddenly became silent. Master Yu Zhigang and Tang San both stared wide-eyed, staring blankly at the purple halo surrounding Tang Ge's body, as if they had seen a ghost. Is this? Millennium Soul Ring? Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Yu Zhigang, and gained 1,000 shock points. Ding dong, Congratulations to the host, you shocked Tang San and gained 150 shock points. The moment the soul ring was revealed, a system notification sounded in his mind at the same time. Tang Ge was extremely satisfied with increasing the shock value by more than 1,000 at one time. Looking at the master and Tang San who were shocked by him, he smiled and spoke. It's a little bit of luck. I accidentally fused a 1,000-year soul ring and obtained a soul skill. Tang San came back to his senses. He glanced at the purple soul ring on Tang Ge's body again, frowned slightly, and turned to ask Uzia Gang beside him. Teacher, didn't you say that the limit that the first soul ring can withstand is 423 years, I rely on? That's the result of my theoretical research. 99 out of 10 soul masters are like this, but how could I know that I would encounter such a small change today? And are there any students like you who directly dismantle the teacher's platform? Hearing Tang San's question, Uzia Gang's face twitched slightly, and he couldn't help but glared at him fiercely. Then he looked at Tang Ge and reprimanded him with a black face. You started to learn to be bad at such a young age, and you actually dyed your own soul ring. Why didn't you just dye it red? But forget it this time, don't use colored soul rings to scare people in the future. Let's go. I remember that I still have unfinished projects in the college, so I will go back to the college first. After finishing speaking, Uzia Gang turned around with his hands behind his back and walked towards the market in front of him. But Tang Ge was stunned. The Grand Master with the strongest theory in the martial arts world actually said that his 1,000-year soul ring was dyed. Can we have a face? At such a moment, Tang Ge really wanted to shout. Master, you, stop. Dye me a red soul ring. Next to him, hearing what the teacher said just now, Tang San also had a wry smile on his face. He shouldn't have spoken just now. But his eyes fell on the purple spirit ring on Tang Ge's body. Tang San knew that it was definitely not a dyed spirit ring, so he opened his mouth in shock but couldn't help being curious. Tang Ge, can you tell me about your experience of obtaining this soul ring? No problem, Tang Ge smiled and nodded. Then he polished up his experience and told Tang San everything except what shouldn't be said. Whether it was the strange martial spirit that could perceive spirit beasts or the appearance of the 1,000-year-old spirit beast Dream Fox, Tang San was fascinated by hearing it, and regretted not being with Tang Ge at that time. Finally, thinking about Tang Ge's strong physical fitness that can tear mandala snakes with his hands, it is actually normal to fuse a 1,000-year-old soul ring. It just surprised Tang San. Tang Ge's soul power level, which was fused with a 1,000-year soul ring, had just reached level 13. This immediately let Tang San breathe a sigh of relief. He had learned from his teacher before that although his soul power needed to be appraised in the Hall of Spirits, he guessed it was at least level. Therefore, there is not much difference between myself and Tang Ge. Tang San couldn't help thinking to himself, please recommend, ask for a reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 31 Boss, avenge us. In the evening of that day, Master Uzia Gang didn't stop at the market outside the hunting soul forest, and directly hired a carriage to take Tang Ge and Tang San away. This time the carriage was traveling very fast. So even though they stopped for lunch, the three of them returned to Nodin College at 1 o'clock the next day. After arriving at the academy, Uzia Gang left beforehand, so Tang Ge and Tang San went directly to Kish. Surprisingly though, at the moment, Kish is very quiet, not even his shadow. Tang Ge, who had just entered the door, saw this situation, and immediately asked in surprise, why is there no one? Wang Sheng and the others should still be eating and not come back. Tang San yawned and said indifferently. He had been riding in a carriage for more than a day before, and now he felt very uncomfortable all over, and he just wanted to lie down on the bed and take a good rest. Seeing Tang San's tired face, Tang Ge also planned to take this opportunity to have a good sleep. But before the two of them could take action, a sound of messy footsteps outside Kish suddenly broke the silence. It was also mixed with mournful and angry curses. Damn it! It's so hateful. That Li Long lost a competition carelessly, but he blamed Brother Sheng for a sneak attack, and even called the 6th grade Boss Zio to avenge him. Hiss, it hurts me to death. Boss Zio is too ruthless. My face is still swollen. Brother Sheng, when will Miss Wu, Brother Tang San and Boss come back? If Boss and the others were here, we would definitely not have been beaten so badly today. Yeah, Boss, when will they come back? And they won't tell us when they go out. When Tang Ge and Tang San heard the news and came out of Kish, they immediately saw the original Kish members walking towards this side supporting each other. They all looked miserable with bruised noses and swollen faces. Especially Wang Sheng, whose face was so swollen that he was almost unrecognizable, and the college uniform he was wearing was even more tattered. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge was taken aback for a moment, and then he understood what was going on. Before he could speak, Tang San beside him directly frowned, saying, "What's going on? Who hit you?" At this time, the 7 people who came back also saw Tang Ge and Tang San standing at the door. Their originally sad faces suddenly became excited. Among them, Wang Sheng had the most violent reaction. Not only did he cry loudly "wow," he also broke free from the support of his 2 companions, and rushed towards Tang San stumbled. Looking at Wang Sheng who was rushing straight towards him, the tears were splashing everywhere. Tang San wanted to take 2 steps back. But the result? Wang Sheng, who was about to pounce on Tang San, seemed to have thought of something. His feet suddenly became firm, and then he turned around and thumped and squatted at Tang Ge's feet. He directly hugged Tang Ge's leg and burst into tears. Boss, woo woo woo. I was beaten so badly. Look at my face, look at my stomach, it was all beaten by that surname Xiao. Boss, you must avenge me, woo 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 woo. Tang San on the side saw this scene, his face twitched slightly. At this moment, he suddenly had the urge to beat Wang Sheng up. Tang Ge didn't know what Tang San was thinking. He looked at Wang Sheng who was squatting on the ground holding his leg and crying, and he couldn't help crying, and couldn't help saying, "Why are you crying? Get up, woo." "Boss, I'm in pain. If you promise to avenge us, I won't get up." Wang Sheng didn't care, tears were still rubbing against Tang Ge's legs. Feeling the wet pants, Tang Ge couldn't take it anymore, so he nodded in agreement. "Just promise you, get up quickly, if you don't get up again, I'll beat you too." Swish. Upon hearing this, Wang Shengma, who was still crying, crawled up from the ground, as if he had been beaten. He looked at Tang Ge, and said, Then shall we go there now? Is the person who beat you still there?" Tang Ge frowned. Wang Sheng nodded quickly. Yes. The one surnamed Xiao and Liu Long are both in the woods on the mountain behind the college. I'll take you there, boss. Little San, do you want to take a look? Tang Ge ignored Wang Sheng, but looked at Tang San at the side, and said with a smile. Tang San could only nod helplessly after hearing this. "You have gone, can I not go? In that case, let's go." Wang Sheng, lead the way. Okay. Immediately, under the guidance of Wang Sheng, Kish and his group headed towards the woods on the mountain behind the college. Especially after learning that Tang Ge and Tang San had both fused spirit rings to become spirit masters on the way, the 8 people beaten by Wang Sheng and the others became more confident and wished they could fly over with their wings. In a forest on the hill behind Notting College. Previously, they had just experienced an asymmetrical competition here, and they were defeated. To be exact, the workers and students in the 7th house who were tortured all ran away crying. Seeing that there was no show to watch, the students who were watching also dispersed one after another. In the end, there were only a dozen senior students left here, and they were complimenting one of the students with a proud and complacent expression on his face. Boss Xiao deserves to be Boss Xiao. He beat up those work students until they burst into tears. Let's see if they dare to fight against us in the future. That Wang Sheng is also stubborn. After being beaten, he dared to say that Boss Xiao is not his opponent like Boss Tang. How strong can a first-year freshman be? That's right, our Boss Xiao is a soul master who has fused a soul ring. Even if the Boss Tang mentioned by Wang Sheng came, he would probably be scared enough to pee his pants. Piss my pants. Ho ha. The student who was being complimented was called Xiao Kellen, who was the Boss Xiao in the mouth of this group of senior students. Hearing these compliments, he unconsciously puffed out his chest, putting on an inscrutable look. But right now, one of the senior students inadvertently glanced into the distance, and couldn't help but make a sound of surprise. Huh? Aren't those people the work-study students of Kish who were beaten away just now? Why did they come back? Hearing what this senior student said, the other students who were talking couldn't help but look over as predicted. 10 figures appeared more than 10 meters away, walking straight towards this side. It's just that besides Wang Shenqi who had just been beaten away, there were 2 more people. It seemed that they were rescuers invited by Wang Shenqi. Boss Xiao, it seems that this group of work-study students still haven't been beaten enough. Liu Long, who had suffered at the hands of Wang Sheng before, couldn't help but sneered. Hearing Liu Long's words, Xiao Kelling's face remained unchanged, and he shook his head calmly. Beating them is not the purpose. I just want them to understand that to be a human being, you must learn to bow your head. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 32. You're going crazy, baby. Soon, Tang Ge and his party came to a place a few meters away from Xiao Kellen and the others. After stopping, Wang Sheng immediately pointed at Xiao Kellen, who looked like he didn't want to be beaten, and said through gritted teeth, "Boss, he is Xiao Kellen. Everyone calls him Boss Xiao." Xiao Kellen? How nice the dung beetle sounds. Hearing Wang Sheng's words, Tang Ge's eyes fell on Xiao Kellen, and he couldn't help laughing secretly in his heart. But he remained calm on the surface, nodded, "Well, since I'm here, I won't let Kish's people be bullied by others. Ha ha ha, it's really ridiculous." It's just that as soon as Tang Ge said this, there was a burst of mocking laughter from the opposite side. But Liu Long, who was standing next to Xiao Kellen, finally couldn't help but shouted loudly, "Wang Sheng, if I'm not wrong, the two people beside you should be freshmen who just came to the academy. I really didn't expect that your first-year student would call the freshman the boss. If I were you, I would turn around and leave now, and then just find a crack in the ground and sneak in, so as not to embarrass myself." Hearing Liu Long's words, other senior students couldn't help laughing. For a moment, eyes full of sarcasm and disdain focused on Wang Sheng, making Wang Sheng's complexion extremely ugly. He roared at Liu Long, "Liu Long, if you have the guts to get out, I will beat you this time until you cry. Don't think that you can beat me if you win me once by luck." Liu Long sneered. But in the face of Wang Sheng's challenge, he did not agree, and Wang Sheng was so angry that he wanted to rush directly to do it. But after Tang Ge patted him on the shoulder, he gradually calmed down. After asking Wang Sheng to retreat to the back, Tang Ge walked out of the team, looked at Xiao Kellen, who was pretending to be an adult, and spoke with a smile. "Boss Xiao, right? I heard that you are already a soul master, 11th level first ring battle soul master, martial soul, wolf. So you, a freshman, should understand that neither you nor the people behind you will be my opponent." Hearing Tang Ge's question, Xiao Kellen said proudly without hiding. On the side, Liu Long cooperated even more. "Have you heard that, eh? Boss Xiao is an 11th level first ring battle soul master. If you don't want to be beaten up like that boy Wang Sheng, then get out." His words were full of arrogance. A cold light flashed in Tang Ge's eyes, and he glanced at Tang San beside him. "Little San, teach him a lesson." "Why me?" Tang San couldn't help asking. Tang Ge shrugged. "I'm the boss of Kish. Have you ever seen the boss play at the beginning of the duel between the two sides? Besides, this is to avenge the brothers in the dormitory. Don't tell me you don't want to." Xiao. As soon as these words came out, the eyes of Wang Sheng and the other 7 people who followed Tang San. It seems to be asking, "Are you unwilling?" Tang San felt extremely depressed in his heart. He could only nod his head. "Okay, I'll go." Then he directly grabbed a handful of stones from the ground, walked out of the team, looked at Liu Long on the opposite side, and spoke lightly. "I said I'm going to hit your left arm. Do you believe me?" Joke. I, puff. As a result, Liu Long hadn't finished speaking, and accompanied by the sound of breaking through the air, a stone really hit his left arm hard, causing him to yell out in pain. "Now I hit you on the right arm." Tang San seemed to want to vent the depression in his heart, but he didn't stop. After the voice fell, another stone shot out from his hand. Liu Long, who had just been hit, was so frightened that he quickly hid his right arm. But the flying stone seemed to have eyes, turned in midair, suddenly appeared behind him, and hit his right arm again. "Wow! You have the ability to stand there and don't move. I will break your leg with a stick." Liu Long's face twisted in pain. Then he directly summoned his martial spirit stick, and rushed towards Tang San on the opposite side. The stones in Tang San's hand continued to shoot out. "Slap your right leg. Slap your left leg." The distance of nearly 5 or 6 meters has become the most painful and regrettable experience for Liu Long at this moment, and it is difficult for him to move even if he is hit by stones containing soul power. In the blink of an eye, he became bruised and swollen. In the end, Liu Long couldn't bear this kind of torture. He turned around and ran back to the crowd on his side, yelling, not daring to show his face again. Xiao Kellen, who was originally proud, turned gloomy. In order to protect his face, he had to send out several senior students from his own side. Even Ling Feng, who was very powerful among them, was sent out. In the end, like Liu Long, they were all defeated by Tang San. From the beginning to the end, Tang San didn't use his martial soul. Now, no matter how stupid Xiao Kelling was, he could see that the other party was also a soul master with a soul ring fusion, and he couldn't help being extremely shocked. A mere student who has just entered school is at the level of a soul master. What is the identity of the other party? Just thinking about it, Tang San on the opposite side suddenly spoke. You're the only one left, why don't you come out? Hearing Tang San's words, in order to protect his own face, Xiao Kelling walked out proudly even though he was puzzled in his heart. He looked at Tang San, and said, Xiao Kelling, a 6th grade college, Wu Hanlang, an 11th level 1 ring war spirit master. Xiao Kelling reported his situation again, which was his respect for opponents of the same level. Tang San, who was a few meters away, knew this rule from the master, so he nodded and said, Tang San, 1st grade. As a result, he had just opened his mouth when a familiar voice suddenly came from behind. Little San, come back and leave the rest to me, didn't you say you let me do it? Tang San turned his head and looked at Tang Ge, a little unhappy. Tang Ge rolled his eyes. King against king, general against general, since you have already dealt with those small characters, the last one, Mr. Xiao, should naturally be handed over to me to deal with. How? Look at your expression, am I wrong? Do not. You are right, Tang San, have nothing to say. Faced with Tang Ge's explanation, Tang San only felt a pang in his chest that couldn't be calmed down, and he was so angry that he gritted his teeth. But in the end he turned around and returned to the team. Now, only Tang Ge and Xiao Kelling were left in the empty area. Seeing Tang Ge with a lazy and unserious expression on the opposite side, Xiao Kelling couldn't help frowning, and said angrily, show off your martial spirit. What kind of martial soul is bright? To deal with you, I just need to make you crazy. Tang Ge looked disdainful. This was the first time he was underestimated. So upon hearing Tang Ge's words, Xiao Kelling, who was the son of the city lord of Notting City, couldn't help being angry anymore, and let out a low drink. You are courting death? Whoa. As soon as the words fell, a white light suddenly appeared and directly rushed into his body. Time. Xiao Kelling, who was just about to rush towards Tang Ge, froze on the spot. His originally angry face showed an expression full of enjoyment. Please recommend, ask for a reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 33. I will call you the strongest. Because Xiao Kelling was facing the students of Kish, the change of expression on his face was immediately noticed by the students of Kish. This person, why is he so happy all of a sudden? For a moment, Wang Sheng and the other 8 people couldn't help but feel puzzled. Only Tang San knew something because he was already a soul master with a ring of rings, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Could it be soul skills? He thought to himself. But a group of senior students standing behind Xiao Kelling didn't know this, so they were very puzzled by Boss Xiao, who didn't do anything after speaking harshly. Someone couldn't help but whispered, Liu Long, look at Boss Xiao, what's going on? Liu Long was a little reluctant. But feeling the ferocious eyes of this group of seniors who said if you don't go, I will beat you, he could only bite the bullet and walk over. Coming behind Xiao Kelling, Liu Long hesitated for a moment, but still stretched out a finger, and lightly poked Xiao Kelling's back. Boss Xiao. Xiao Kelling didn't respond. Liu Long poked again, but Xiao Kelling still didn't respond. He gritted his teeth, moved his finger down suddenly, and poked it hard. Ho-ha, slap, accompanied by an unbearable laugh. Xiao Kelling, who had been standing still, suddenly turned around, and slapped Liu Long to the ground with a single slap. Liu Long's face also suddenly swelled up at this time. The confusion on Xiao Kelling's face gradually dissipated, and as his eyes regained focus, he saw Liu Long lying on the ground with a swollen face like a pig. He frowned, and said in displeasure, who beat you? This was done by you, boss. Hearing Xiao Kelling's words, Liu Long, who had been slapped, was stunned for a moment, and tears of grievance began to roll in his eyes, and said in a low voice, I called? A hint of confusion appeared on Xiao Kelling's face. But then he seemed to think of something, his originally confused face suddenly changed, and he suddenly turned his head to look at Tang Ge opposite. What did you do to me just now? Looking at Tang Ge, Xiao Kelling said in both horror and anger. He only remembered that a ray of light rushed into his body just now, and then he seemed to have fallen into endless tenderness, and he didn't know anything. 5 or 6 meters away. A system notification sounded in Tang Ge's mind. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Xiao Kelling and gained 120 shock points, perfect. Got wool again. So in order to thank Xiao Kelling, He waved his hand again, and a yang force containing the pleasure soul skill directly impacted the opponent's body. Zhao Kellen, who was originally shocked and angry, once again showed an expression of enjoyment. This time, no matter how stupid the dozen or so senior students behind were, they finally understood why Boss Zhao suddenly stood still. That white light is weird. So the eyes of these students once again fell on Liu Long, who just got up from the ground. But Liu Long is not an idiot either. When he saw this situation, he immediately rolled his eyes and thumped and fell to the ground again. More than a dozen students looked at each other, and none of them wanted to go up and wake Zhao Kellen up. Just like that, the atmosphere in the grove suddenly froze. But fortunately, after all, Zhao Kellen is a first-ring battle soul master. After immersing himself in the tenderness once, he had a little resistance, and he woke up after a while. As soon as he woke up, he rushed towards Tang Ge without saying anything halfway through. Another white light flew over. Zhao Kellen immediately roared, "Martial soul possession," and immediately an illusory werewolf whined and directly wrapped him up. The wolf's claws slid across, and shadows of claws flashed in the air. It's just a pity that the white light that flew over seemed to be just white light. Even with the help of Zhao Kellen's martial soul, he couldn't block it. So as soon as the white light entered his body, the aggressive Zhao Kellen froze again. There was an expression of enjoyment on his face. Then, Zhao Kellen woke up again. He looked at Tang Ge in shock and anger, and shouted, "What the hell did he do to me? Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Zhao Kellen and gained 180 shock points." Hearing the system notification sound again in his mind, Tang Ge chuckled, and another white light was released by him. "You, ding dong, you, ding dong." Finally, Zhao Kellen, who was tortured 6 or 7 times by the white light, couldn't take it anymore under the incredulous eyes of the surrounding academies. This time he just woke up. Before the white light appeared again, he knelt down on the ground with a plop. Looking at Tang Ge, who was still more than 4 meters away from him, Zhao Kellen, who had completely exhausted his soul power, burst into tears and cried out loudly. "I, Zhao Kellen, would like to call you the strongest. You can fight or kill as you please, please stop torturing me, okay?" As soon as these words came out, Kishi's Wang Sheng and the others were taken aback for a moment, and then let out excited shouts. "Ha ha ha, the boss is indeed the boss. I knew that Zhao is not the boss opponent. Did you see that even Zhao Kellen knelt down and begged for mercy? Let's see who dares to bully or kish people in the future. Boss, I love you to death." Finally, under Wang Sheng's coaxing, 8 people rushed over together and lifted Tang Ge above their heads without saying a word. Tang San didn't join in the fun, but his eyes were full of envy. He obviously worked hard before, so why couldn't he lift it up with himself? As for the dozen or so senior students on the opposite side, it was even more unexpected that Boss Zhao, who is usually extremely powerful, would directly kneel down and beg for mercy at this moment. In an instant, the tall image of Boss Zhao in their hearts collapsed. But these dozen or so senior students were more frightened by Tang Ge's strange ability. They witnessed with their own eyes that the other party tortured a one-ring battle soul master to collapse without blood. The process shouldn't be too scary. No. This person must not be provoked. After secretly remembering Tang Ge's appearance in his heart, more than a dozen senior students present had no face to stay and left as if fleeing. The collapsed Zhao Kellen was also helped away by the swollen-faced Liu Long. In the harsh sunlight, Tang Ge, who was held up by the Kish students to celebrate the victory, closed his eyes slightly, and a bright smile appeared on his face as the system prompts kept ringing in his mind. That's nice. Another day of harvesting lots of wool. Next, after the excitement passed, Wang Sheng, who is usually very picky, was very generous when he heard that Tang Ge and Tang San had just obtained their first spirit ring from outside. In order to celebrate the success of his revenge, he took out his savings directly and invited everyone in the 7 houses to have a big meal at a nice restaurant in Notting City. It wasn't until nearly 3 o'clock in the afternoon that a group of 10 people returned to the academy. Don't forget to vote for recommendation. There are really few recommended tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 34. A sudden whim. Good things don't go out, bad things pass thousands of miles. The duel in the woods on the mountain behind the academy had just ended when this gust of wind blew across the entire academy at an extremely fast speed. Immediately, everyone in the college knew that Zhao Kellen, who was in the 6th grade, was defeated by a freshman who had just entered school. And it's kind of miserable. According to rumors, The freshmen at that time didn't even activate their spirit rings, they just waved them casually, and Xiao Kellen, who had the strength of a one-ring battle spirit master, knelt down and begged for mercy. It sounds absurd, but there are testimonies from the students present that all this is true. For this reason, out of curiosity, many senior students went to Xiao Kellen to find out the details. But how could Xiao Kellen say such a shameful thing? As soon as he dismissed those students, he hurriedly fled the academy with a cold face. Even in the next few months, he didn't show up again. However, the gossip students learned a lot of what happened at that time from the mouth of the junior student Liu Long. For a while, this matter became more and more suspenseful. When even the teachers of the college were alarmed, many students were shocked after they personally said that the junior students who defeated Xiao Kellen had mastered the soul skills. It turned out to be a soul skill. You must know that even if the first soul ring is fused from soul warrior to soul master, not just any soul master can obtain soul skills. This not only depends on the quality of the soul ring, but also depends on the soul master's own talent. And now, it's really surprising that a work-study student who just entered school actually has a soul ring. Could it be that he came from some big family? Nodding City. Kish and his party, who had just finished the dinner, left the restaurant and were walking towards the college while talking and laughing. While walking, Tang Ge stopped suddenly with a strange expression on his face. Seeing this, Tang San couldn't help asking, "What's the matter, Tang Ge?" The others also looked at Tang Ge suspiciously. Tang Ge thought for a while, and said, "I just remembered that I have to do some things, and I can't go back to the college now." "Why don't you go back first? Are you not going to class in the afternoon?" Tang San said in surprise. Tang Ge hugged Tang San in his arms, and said with a smile, "What class are you taking? Is it possible that those teachers in the academy can still compare to the master in teaching ability? So, after you get the experience of cultivation from the master, just come back and talk to me." Hearing Tang Ge's words, Tang San couldn't help rolling his eyes. But he didn't refuse, and after breaking free from the other's arm, he nodded. "No matter what, we just entered school, so it's better not to miss too many classes." "Understood, go back quickly," Tang Ge urged. So, Tang San didn't say any more, and left here together with Wang Sheng and others. But Tang Ge turned around and returned, quickly found a cheap inn on the way, and gave some copper soul coins to open a temporary room. The door had just closed. Tang Ge was standing at the door, impatiently turning his attention to the system. Suddenly, the system notification tone that he had just locked kept ringing in his mind. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Sai Lei, and got 6 shock points. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host, you shocked Wu Liao and gained 8 shock points." In the end, the system prompt sounded more than 130 times. If Tang Ge hadn't turned the sound reminder into a stream of information in time, the continuous sound in his mind would have split his soul. However, Tang Ge's attention at the moment was completely focused on the sudden increase in the shock value. Although the shock value obtained each time is not much, but after counting all these notification sounds, Tang Ge found that his shock value had increased by a full 1050 points, which really surprised him. But immediately, Tang Ge looked puzzled again. What the hell did I do? Why did I suddenly increase the shock value so much? Could it be because of the competition with Xiao Kellen and the group in the academy? He couldn't help thinking of the large number of names that appeared in the notification tone, and these names seemed to be students of not in college. If it is really a college student, then they weren't there at the beginning, but they were able to provide themselves with shock points. Could it be a new function of the system after their strength improved? Can you get the shock value indirectly? While thinking about it, Tang Ge pulled a stool over and sat down. With a thought in his mind, the profile panel was immediately called up. Shocking system, host, Tang Ge, level, soul master, martial soul, twin martial soul, yin and yang life and death diagram, 4 swords of Zuxian, spirit ring, yin yang life and death diagram, purple, soul skill, pleasure, martial skill, random cloaking windhammer method, physique, ancient saint physique, fusion 32%, shock value 7050. His eyes fell on the column of shock value at the bottom, and Tang Ge was full of surprise when he looked at the value behind. Unknowingly, it is already close to, points. He felt that if he worked harder, he might be able to gather enough shock value today, and then start another lottery draw from the heavens. But how to continue to get the shock value? Tang Ge couldn't help thinking in his heart. After a while, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he immediately raised his right hand. That's right. It's the right hand. With the stimulation of the soul power, in the heart of Tang Ge's right hand, a miniature sword with ever-changing shape slowly emerged. This is his Wuhan Four Swords. As soon as the Four Swords of Jade Immortal appeared, a terrifying sword energy radiated out, which immediately put huge pressure on Tang Ge's body. He stared at the Four Swords of Killing Immortals, and couldn't help thinking of the changes in the sky within a radius of several miles caused by using the Sword of Killing Immortals in the Hunting Soul Forest. Since you can get shock points indirectly even in the competition, it doesn't make sense to use it and you won't get shock points, right? With anticipation on his face, Tang Ge not only did not take back the Four Swords of Zuxian, but began to mobilize his soul power into him. Immediately, the originally calm Zuxian Four Swords trembled slightly, showing a faint tendency to split into four. The pressure also increased several times in an instant. Accompanied by the illusory sword energy raging, the table closest to Tang Ge was crushed instantly with a poof, and there were many sword marks on the ground. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge was taken aback, and had to spare some energy to restrain the overflowing sword energy. Otherwise go on like this. He hasn't experimented with the result he wants, and the Yin is afraid that it will be demolished directly. But fortunately, the Four Swords of Jade Immortals is Tang Ge's own martial spirit. Even if there is a terrifying sword aura, it will not harm him. So Tang Ge gritted his teeth, endured the tremendous pressure covering his body, and continued to increase the input of the soul power of the Four Swords of Jade Immortals. Then, the sky has finally changed. Please recommend, ask for a reward. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. Too cool. It was originally afternoon, and the weather was sunny. The scorching sun hangs high in the sky, casting dazzling light, and the residents of the hot city of Notting are sluggish and do not want to move. But suddenly, it seemed as if an invisible hand held all the dark clouds from afar. The sky above Notting City was immediately covered by dark clouds. A gust of wind rose. It was dark in an instant. Seeing this scene, the residents in the city couldn't help showing surprise on their hot and red faces. It is going to rain. Immediately, many vendors began to pack their things, preparing to find a place to hide from the rain, and take advantage of the rainy weather to cool off. But, as time passed, not a single drop of rain fell, but the dark clouds that originally only covered Notting City spread rapidly in all directions. When the residents of the city realized that something was wrong, the whole sky was completely dark. Not a ray of sunlight appeared. Suddenly, there seemed to be the sound of a sword ringing beside his ears. Immediately afterwards, an indescribably frightening and terrifying aura swept across like a gust of wind. Thump, thump. The citizens of Notting City who were affected all felt that an invisible big hand suddenly slapped them down on the ground. The cold and terrifying feeling like a sword hanging from their throats made them all terrified. What the hell is going on here? Are you going to die? Inside the city lord's mansion, a tall and mighty man was sitting in the hall, and next to him was Xiao Kellen, who had been bullied by Tang Ge before. At this moment, Xiao Kellen looked aggrieved and cried, "Father, I want to transfer to another school, and I can't go to Notting College." What happened? The mighty man, Xiao Kellen's father, City Lord Xiao, frowned and asked. Xiao Kellen was about to talk about what happened in the academy. As a result, the originally bright hall suddenly became dark, followed by a shocking aura that swept in from outside. City Lord Xiao is a soul sect, and he was so frightened that he stood up from his chair in an instant. He thought it was a powerful enemy, and rushed out of the hall, shouting loudly, "Come on, brush brush." Soon, a large number of City Lord guards rushed over. "Sir, what are your orders?" But at this moment, the City Lord Xiao's bodyguards, who had no intention of coming, were looking up at the sky completely covered by dark clouds, their faces full of shock. Even if he is not a sword spirit, he can clearly feel the sharp sword energy in the air. Treasure? Strong. Not only that. In Notting City, because of the dark clouds covering the sun, not only the City Lord's mansion was alarmed, but even the strong men in Notting Academy and the leaders of the Wuhan branch hall were startled. Because of their strong strength, they didn't want to be able to bear the oppression of the powerful aura like ordinary city residents. so they lay on the ground directly. But even so, the powerful sword energy that filled the air and seemed to tear through the void shocked all the great soul masters, and soul masters. Immediately, these major forces sent personnel to investigate the situation one after another, and immediately contacted the higher authorities to inform them of the changes in Notting City at the same time. In an inconspicuous inn in Notting City, Tang Ge, who was forcibly arousing the aura of Zhu Xianjian, also noticed the changes outside. After all, the room suddenly went dark, so it would be strange not to notice it. He frowned, secretly surprised that the aura of this Huxin sword could cause such a big movement, and a series of system prompts suddenly sounded in his mind. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, for shocking Wanger, get a little shock value. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, shock Zhaowu, and gained a little shock value. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shock Liu Feng and gained, shock points. But after a while, the system prompt sounded more than a dozen times, and it kept ringing. Tang Ge has never felt like this time that the system's notification sound is like a mosquito buzzing, making him extremely uncomfortable. So Tang Ge quickly blocked the notification sound, let it turn into a stream of information and began to refresh on the panel. The humming disappeared instantly. Tang Ge couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But after seeing the constantly refreshing information on the system panel like a waterfall, his face flushed with excitement, and he had never felt so refreshed before. In just a short while, the shock value increased by 1,000 points. And the shock value didn't stop, it continued to soar. Besides, in the constantly refreshing system information, Tang Ge also saw that many raw names directly contributed hundreds or even thousands of shock points to him at one time. Among them, there seems to be a person with the surname Xiao. Looking through the window to see the sunless situation outside, Tang Ge suddenly understood that the commotion caused outside after he aroused the breath of Jade Immortal Sword was definitely not small. Otherwise, there would not be so many shock values. Glancing at the system panel again, Tang Ge gritted his teeth when he found that the original shock value of more than 7,000 had reached more than. Regardless of the huge load on his body again, he made the miniature Jade Immortal Sword a little bit bigger. But it was this little bit that seemed to offend God. The black sky that was originally covered by dark clouds followed a loud bang sound, and a blue thunderbolt as thick as a bucket suddenly appeared in the void, and everyone in Notting City who stabbed them all closed their eyes. Seeing this scene, even some soul masters and great soul masters who originally wanted to come out to investigate the situation quickly hid as if afraid of being hacked, trembling with fright. Rumble. Rumble. What followed was the continuous roar of thunder, as if it was about to swallow the entire city of Nottingham. There is even more thunderous power coming towards the inn where Tang Ge lives. Among the singers of Tang Dynasty, Zhu Xianjian, who was originally just exuding breath, suddenly trembled violently after sensing the existence of the remaining power of thunder, as if feeling the provocation. A thin strand of sword energy was actually split by it, passed through the window, and directly slashed towards the sky outside. Boom! Accompanied by a deafening bang, a boundless sword light appeared, which not only tore apart the thunder, but also tore apart the dark clouds that covered the sky and the sun. The dark clouds dissipated, and a hole appeared in the sky, and it took a while for it to heal and disappear again. The whole city of Notting suddenly became extremely quiet at this moment. Puff. But Tang Ge, who lived in the inn, finally couldn't hold on anymore and spurted out a mouthful of blood following Zhu Xianjian's independent counterattack. After spraying the blood, he immediately fell off the stool and lay straight on the ground. At this moment, I felt as if my body was being hammered by countless hammers. The pain swelled, as if it was about to burst. It was extremely uncomfortable. Tang Ge's pale, bloodless face was suddenly bitter. This time it's really cool. Seeking recommendations. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 36 Lucky Draw from the Heavens, 10 Combos. At this moment, the original roar of thunder outside had disappeared, and the thick dark clouds that had covered the entire Notting City had also completely dissipated, revealing the sun behind. But the breath remaining in the air is still there, making everyone in the city understand. The end of the world scene they saw just now was not a dream, everything happened for real. But luckily, nothing terrible happened. As the scorching sun fell again and then shone on their bodies, the residents of Notting City felt the sun was so warm like never before. It's just that they didn't know that the terrifying sword energy that broke through thunder just now not only frightened them, but also alarmed some top existences on this continent. In a mysterious palace far away, A woman in a luxurious black robe inlaid with the gold patterns and a 9-curved purple gold crown was lazily lying on a chair. She has a nearly perfect face, exuding a noble and sacred aura, which makes people want to worship her. Suddenly, the woman opened her eyes. She frowned slightly, her thin red lips parted slightly, and made an inaudible sound. Is this breath, north? Immediately, someone sent an order from the palace and rushed towards the north. There is another city. A middle-aged man with a sharp breath was practicing his sword. The longsword in his hand was transformed by a martial soul, and it was directly divided into 12 sword shadows. Each sword shadow made the mountain in front of him a little shorter. Finally, accompanied by a loud bang, the tens of meters high hill completely collapsed and turned into flat ground. The middle-aged man took a deep breath, preparing to withdraw his martial soul. Unexpectedly, the sword Wuhan in his hand suddenly let out a low cry, and wanted to break free from his hand, and flew towards the distance. The middle-aged man's complexion changed, and he immediately bound a martial spirit in his hand with his soul power. But even so, he could clearly feel the surrender emotion contained in the martial soul. What a strong sword intent! The middle-aged man couldn't help but gasp, staring fixedly into the distance, as if he saw the scene of the sword Qi Chang Hong. His eyes were both shocked and full of fighting spirit. In a vast and boundless forest, deep, Xiao Wu, who was supposed to be studying at Notting College, unexpectedly appeared here at some point, still in that lovely pink dress. But at the moment she is looking worried, as if talking to herself. I just went to the academy, and I haven't said that my martial spirit is a rabbit, but Brother Tang already knows my martial spirit. Could it be that he discovered my true identity? If I'm found out, should I still go? Erming, you said you want me to bring him here, and then slap him to death? No, he is my friend, so I can't kill him, but if I don't kill him, what should I do if he really knows and reveals my identity? Xiao Wu's face was full of entanglements, she didn't know what to do. But right now, accompanied by the shaking of the ground, a huge figure that covered the sky and the sun suddenly came out slowly from the dark forest. It turned out to be a Titan great ape. After it came out, it didn't look at Xiao Wu, but directly raised its head and looked towards the north direction. Immediately, as if it was threatened, it suddenly let out a deafening roar. Hey! Notting City. Still in that humble inn. Behind the closed door, Tang Ge was lying on the ground in a large font. A large amount of blood oozes from the surface of his body that had been strengthened by the ancient holy body. He even felt as if a boulder had been stuffed inside his body, and he wanted to explode his body directly as it swelled. It's so painful. Tang Ge didn't expect that he just used the breath of Zhu Xianjian to get some extra money on a whim, but he didn't expect that Zhu Xianjian also had a temper. He was so happy, but he accidentally went too far. Feeling his body was so weak that he couldn't even move a finger, Tang Ge couldn't help but smiled wryly. Next time, no matter what, you can't be so reckless. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Sword Douluo Continent, and gained, shock points. As soon as the system sound mask was lifted, a notification sounded. Okay? Was there such a big commotion just now that even Sword Douluo of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School was shocked? Hearing the beep, Tang Ge's pale face couldn't help showing a touch of surprise. It's just that he was puzzled. Since even Sword Douluo can be shocked, it doesn't make sense that the same existence as Sword Douluo wouldn't be able to sense the sword energy released by the immortal execution sword just now. But why only Sword Douluo triggered the system prompt? Could it be because the opponent has a sword spirit? Tang Ge couldn't understand it. However, with a severe pain that hit his body, he suddenly didn't want to think about the shock value anymore, and quickly used his soul power to stimulate the 9-aperture golden pill that hadn't disappeared in his heart. The medicinal power of the 9-aperture golden pill was stimulated, and it began to cooperate with his soul power to slowly restore Tang Ge's body. Tang Ge also slowly closed his eyes. I do not know how long it has been. When Tang Ge woke up again, the 9-aperture golden elixir that had been consumed several times in his heart was finally exhausted and completely disappeared. Instead, most of Tang Ge's body had recovered from his injuries, and the ancient holy body with a little more fusion. But even so, Tang Ge still felt tired all over. He understood that if he wanted his body to fully recover, it might take some time. And the 4 swords of Zuxian. Thinking of this, Tang Ge's heart moved, and the personal information panel was called up. Shocking system, host, Tang Ge, level, soul master, martial soul, twin martial soul, Yin and Yang Life and Death Diagram, 4 Swords of Zuxian, Spirit Ring, Yin Yang Life and Death Diagram, purple, Soul Skill, Pleasure, Martial Skill, Random Cloaking Windhammer Method, Physique, Ancient Saint Physique, Fusion 33%, Shock Value 103,500, 1 2 3 4 5 6. On the shock value column, the 6-digit number almost blinded Tang Ge's eyes. He thought there would be many before, but he didn't expect so many. It actually has a shock value of, points. Suddenly, Tang Ge was excited. Regardless of his body that had just regained some strength, he immediately got up from the ground. After sitting on the bed, Tang Ge chanted directly in his heart. System, turn on the heavenly roulette. I want a 10 consecutive draw. It has been detected that the shock value of the host meets the requirements. The roulette of the heavens has been successfully started, and 10 consecutive draws have started. Please wait patiently for the host. The system beep sounds. Immediately afterwards, like the first lottery draw, an indescribably huge roulette emerged, and then slowly spun. Staring fixedly at the heavenly roulette, Tang Ge couldn't help clenching his fists and muttering to himself. 10 draws in a row. Even if you only get one precious medicine like the 9 aperture golden pill, it's worthy of my sacrifice this time. Please recommend, ask for a reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 37. Feeling that life has reached its peak. The roulette of the heavens rotated slowly, and the treasures of the heavens on it were covered with a layer of light, and it was hard to see what it was. Soon, the first lottery draw will end. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully extracted a 9 aperture golden pill. The system beep sounds. Tang Ge, who was waiting for the result, heard the notification tone, was stunned for a moment, said nothing, and just slapped himself of course. How could he be willing to hide himself? Just lightly touched his handsome face. But even so, Tang Ge was extremely depressed. I was just talking just now, and I can't just draw me a 9 aperture golden elixir for real. There are so many treasures in the world that are more precious than the 9 aperture golden elixir. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully extracted the 9 aperture golden elixir X2. The system beep continues to sound. Click. A piece of wood next to the bed was directly grabbed by Tang Ge, and his teeth rattled. With a gloomy face, he said angrily, System, you have the ability. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully extracted a feather from the holy Kesa. Okay? Got something good? Tang Ge, who hadn't finished speaking, turned his voice, and immediately said righteously, I knew the system was the best, and I would be willing to bow down to being so capable. The system seemed very satisfied with Tang Ge's flattery. So then it presented all the results of the remaining 7 lottery draws in one breath. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully drawn a Myriad Worlds Crossing Talisman. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully obtained a copy of the Sea God's Baptism. Week. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully extracted a soul ring from the 1,000-year-old soul beast Yufengyan. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully extracted the word Zing. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. Successfully extracted to the furnace of hell. Ding dong, congratulations to the host. You have successfully drawn the heavenly fist. Disabled. Big bang. A complete explosion. When the last 7 lottery draws of the heavens ended, a dazzling golden light was released from the roulette, almost blinding Tang Ge's eyes. Especially after hearing the names of the drawn treasures, Tang Ge stood up directly from the bed. His face was full of excitement. If it wasn't for the consideration that this place is still in the inn, Tang Ge really wanted to yell. Awesome! After a while, as the heavenly roulette disappeared again, the skyrocketing golden light also disappeared. Tang Ge took a deep breath and finally calmed down his boiling heart. As soon as he sat down again, his consciousness was immersed in the system space, and he couldn't wait to count the 10 treasures he had drawn this time. First of all, the effect of the 3 9 aperture golden pills is still the same as before, which can heal injuries and increase soul power, and can also slowly stimulate the fusion of the ancient holy body. At least in the early stage, Jiuqiao Jianden can still meet Tang Ge's needs. Second, one of the feathers of the holy Kesa comes from the holy Kesa, the king of angels of the super seminary, which is filled with a strong holy breath, but its function is unknown. And the Myriad Worlds Traversing Talisman, as its name suggests. Can reach any world in the heavens and myriad worlds after use, but the randomness is too strong. See God's baptism, weak, can upgrade a soul ring with a lifespan of less than, years to 10,000 years. Tang Ge plans to use it after the fusion degree of the ancient holy body is full or the soul power reaches at least level. So with the soul ring of the Millennium Soul Beast Yufengyan, these 4 treasures are precious, but they are not needed at the moment, so they can only be placed in the system space for the time being. Look at the last 3 remaining treasures. Xing Character Secret, one of the 9 secrets in the world of shrouding the sky, a representative of extreme speed, can travel through formations, and can pause time when reaching a certain level. Hell Furnace, the Kigan idol suppressing prison strength created by the Supreme Master of the Holy King World, is a method for condensing the hell furnace in the body. Once the furnace is, everything can be refined and devoured. Heaven God Fist, disabled, from the Kigan idol elephant, suppressing prison strength created by the Supreme Master of the Holy King World. This fist is to sense the ancient heaven in the dark. With the power of heaven, it frightens the group of demons. With every move, it destroys the world and creates the universe. Due to incomplete boxing, he could not reach the highest level God's hand. Even in the world of the heavens, these 3 treasures are all first-class treasures, and any one of them can startle countless world-class powers. And now, they all belong to Tang Ge. No hesitation. Looking at the 3 most precious treasures stored in the system space, Tang Ge had a thought, immediately took them all out and chose to fuse them. 3 streaks of golden light exploded and rushed into his body immediately. The secret fusion of the word Xing is complete. Tang Ge felt the lightness of his body, and he just took a random step forward, and the whole person suddenly disappeared in place. When he reappeared, he was already standing at the door. Furnace of Hell is fused. Tang Ge only felt that there seemed to be a huge melting pot of infinite height condensed in his body, and when it was activated, an unimaginable and terrifying section suddenly came out of it. A 9-aperture golden elixir was thrown in, and it was instantly refined into surging medicine that began to increase Tang Ge's soul power and nourish his dry ancient holy body. The fusion of Heavenly God Fist is complete. A sacred and mighty aura suddenly emanated from Tang Ge's body, all the darkness was driven away, and the room suddenly became brighter. At last, when the 3 treasures were all fused, Tang Ge, who had been closing his eyes, opened them in vain. The surging power gathered in his body like a volcano about to erupt, giving him an irresistible urge, feeling that his life has reached its peak. Must vent. So, Tang Ge punched the floor of the room. Rumble time. Amidst bursts of panicked shouts, the 3-story inn in Notting City, which had been in disrepair for a long time, could no longer stand the test, and collapsed like a rotten one. The smoke and dust billowed up and rushed towards all directions. During this period, a figure, like a ghost, kept throwing out a famous guest. It wasn't until there was no one in the ruins that the figure disappeared with a few flashes. Under the glare of the sun, a few silvery coins could still be faintly seen swirling in the air, flying into the ruins with. At the entrance of an alley 100 meters away from the collapsed inn, a figure suddenly stopped. It was Tang Ge, who escaped from the ruins of the inn by using the word Xing. Even from a long distance, he saw the smoke and dust blown up by the wind after the adobe collapsed, and a wry smile appeared on his face. Impulse is really a devil, but luckily, in broad daylight, there were not many guests living in the inn, and they were all rescued by Tang Ge in time. So his impulse didn't do any harm. Seeing the huge movement that even alarmed the guards of Notting City, Tang Ge didn't stay here any longer and walked directly towards the academy. The editor said that you gave too few recommendation votes. So sad, please recommend votes, otherwise the new book will stop recommending. End of this chapter. Chapter 38. Arriving at the Hall of Spirits for the first time. Notting College. When Tang Ge returned to Kish, there was no one in the dormitory. He didn't care. He took a shower and changed into new clothes, then sat on the bed and began to sort out the harvest of this 10-hit lottery. Have to say, the hell smelting method, hell smelting in Shangxiang suppressing prison, is really powerful. Refining the Jokao golden elixir is a matter of minutes. It was no longer necessary for Tang Ge to melt it into his heart and slowly absorb the power of the medicine. The 9-aperture golden elixir that was smelted and absorbed before not only helped Tang Ge recover most of the physical trauma caused by the backlash of the Jade Immortal Sword. His soul power, which just broke through to level, has improved by leaps and bounds, directly crossing the next 3 levels, reaching level, and there are still 2 9-aperture golden pills left. Tang Ge even wondered if he refined and absorbed these 2 9-aperture golden pills in one go, would he directly break through to the level of a great soul master? After all, there is still a Millennium Soul Ring in the system space. It's just that Tang Ge resisted the urge after all. With the smelting method of hell smelting, he believes that even if he does not rely on pills to practice, no one can match his speed of improving soul power. It is better to keep the remaining 2 9-aperture golden pills for emergencies. Besides, the fusion of the words Ying and Xianshan Shenquan also added a new attack method to Tang Ge, and it was a very powerful method. Combined with the ancient sacred body, it can absolutely block and kill people. So Tang Ge was going to use these 2 secret skills as his trump cards. Unless the martial soul skills could not suppress the enemy, he would not use them easily. Think about it one last time. Tang Ge felt that it was worth it this time for him to be able to obtain so many treasures at one time due to the damage caused by the backlash of this Huxin sword. His eyes sparkled, and he muttered to himself. So, as the saying goes, starve the timid and starve the timid to death, click. At this moment, the closed door was suddenly pushed open, and a figure walked in from outside. Tang Ge's attention was attracted, and he immediately saw Tang San who came back. He put away the chaotic thoughts in his heart, and said with a smile, "How is your study with the master?" Hearing Tang Ge's voice, Tang San also froze for a moment. Then he reacted, with a look of surprise. "Tang Ge, when did you come back? It hasn't been long since you came back." "What, can you find me?" Tang Ge replied with a smile. He asked this question casually. Unexpectedly Tang San nodded after hearing it. "The teacher said that we have fused the soul ring to become a soul master, and we can identify the level of our own soul power in more detail in the spirit hall. And after registering as a soul master, you can also receive a monthly subsidy of 1 gold soul coin from the Wuhan Hall." "Tang Ge, I'm going, are you going?" "Go." Tang Ge thought for a while, then agreed. For him, it is useless to identify the level of soul power, the system directly shows it to him. The key is the gold soul coin that is subsidized every month. Don't want to hoard for nothing, the key is to gain another wave of shock value. It's a pleasure to think about it. Well, the weather is still early. Tang Ge and Tang San, who had reached an agreement, didn't waste any more time, and left the dormitory directly, and went straight to the spirit hall in Nodding City after leaving the academy. Wuhandian, as the superpower of Douluo Continent, has countless registered soul masters, and even the 2 great empires and major sects are extremely afraid of it. Among them, the Wuhan Hall is divided into the Wuhan Sub-Hall, the Wuhan Sub-Hall, the Wuhan Main Hall, the Wuhan Temple and the Pope's Hall. Above the Pope's Palace, there is actually the legendary Douluo Worship Hall. Only Contra level and above powerhouses can enter it. It is extremely honorable. The Wuhan branch halls are at the lowest level, and they are located in every city in the mainland. Nodding City Spirit Hall belongs to this level. But even so, when Tang Ge and Tang San arrived outside the Martial Soul Branch Hall in Nodding City, they were also attracted by its majestic aura. Immediately they collected their minds, and after stating the purpose of coming to evaluate the martial soul, the guard at the door let them go and reminded them to go to Master Maxi Uo. Just a pity. Perhaps because of the wrong time, Su Yanteo was not encountered on the way. So Tang Ge and Tang San went directly to the reception area on the first floor of the Wuhan Branch Hall, and found Deacon Matthew Nuo. Next, just as Tang Ge learned about the plot, Deacon Matthew Nuo first talked about the classification of Wuhan Temple in the mainland, and then tested Tang San's spirit power. Not only was he surprised by the 13th level of spirit power of the other party, but also shocked by the spirit ring fused with a mandala snake. Especially when he learned that Tang San's teacher was a famous master, he warmly invited him to join the spirit hall. It's just that Tang San directly refused. This made Deacon Matthew Nuo very sorry. After temporarily giving up the invitation, he looked at Tang Ge who was still standing aside. "Little guy, it's your turn." Tang Ge nodded and stepped forward. But he didn't summon the spirit like Tang San, but first mobilized the spirit power and input it into the soul testing stone in the hands of Deacon Maxi Nuo. As the golden light sword, a rune representing 17 suddenly emerged in it. This turned out to be level 17 soul power. How can it be? Seeing the reaction of the soul testing stone, Deacon Matthew Nuo's eyes widened in an instant, revealing disbelief in his eyes. If Tang San's 13th level spirit power surprised him, Then Tang Ge's 17th level spirit power completely shocked him. How can a child who is only 6 years old and has just absorbed a soul ring to become a soul master jump 7 levels in a row? Could it be because of the spirit ring? Thinking of this, Matthew Nuo looked at Tang San and immediately urged him impatiently. Little guy, hurry up, let me see your martial spirit and spirit ring, hey. Got wool again. Hearing Matthew Nuo's urging, Tang Ge couldn't help feeling secretly proud in his heart, and then very cooperatively presented his martial soul and soul ring. Wuhan is a diagram of life and death of yin and yang, with the appearance of a scroll. Matthew Nuo was only taken aback when he saw it, and he wasn't too surprised. After all, he presides over the appraisal of the soul master's soul power here, and he has seen too many strange martial souls. But at this moment, the purple soul ring surrounding Tang Ge's body made Matthew Nuo couldn't help but take a breath. Millennium Soul Ring. He finally understood why the little guy in front of him had 17th level soul power as soon as he broke through to Soul Master just. Even masters who have researched the top 10 core competitiveness of martial arts have proposed that the maximum acceptable lifespan of the first soul ring fused by a soul warrior is close to 500 years. But now, someone has broken this theory with facts. Could it be that the master is wrong? Thinking of this, Matthew Nuo couldn't help saying, little guy, come here, let me check your body. During the new book period, the recommendation ticket is really important. It is related to whether you can recommend it in the future, so, please hit me hard with the tickets in your hands. I have a thick face and am not afraid of pain. End of this chapter. Chapter 39. Another blind one. Want to check my body? Hearing Deacon Matthew Nuo's words, Tang Ge was slightly taken aback. But immediately he understood what the other party wanted to do, so he didn't refuse, and walked over directly after putting away the martial soul and soul ring. With the help of the system, Tang Ge is not worried that the secrets in his body will be discovered. Matthew Nuo didn't know this. He watched Tang Ge walk over and put his hand on the other's shoulder. And what Tang Ge felt was that a soul power suddenly appeared and entered his body, and then swam along his limbs and bones. After the soul power disappeared, a voice full of disappointment sounded immediately. It's just blindly pursuing the age of the soul ring, regardless of the limit that the body can bear. Little guy, didn't your teacher tell you the consequences of doing so? And do you feel pain everywhere in your body now, as if it is about to burst? The words were spoken by Matthew Nuo. Tang San, who was still shocked by Tang Ge's 17th level of soul power, couldn't help being taken aback when he heard this, and looked at Tang Ge for no reason. Tang Ge wanted to roll his eyes and tell Deacon Matthew Nuo. His body doesn't hurt everywhere now, and it's impossible for him to break apart. At most, he has suffered some internal injuries, and he will be fine after a period of recuperation. Not to mention, the injury I am suffering now is not due to the forcible fusion of the 1000-year soul ring, but the result of being accidentally backlashed by the power of this Huxin sword. So, although this Matthew Nuo is a bit stronger than Su Yuntao's tool man, he doesn't think his martial soul yin-yang life and death diagram is a waste martial soul. But unfortunately, Tang Ge has the powerful physique of the ancient holy body, and he only blindly pursues the age of the soul ring, so there is really no problem. Su Wuhandian has one more blind tool man. But no matter what Tang Ge wanted was this effect, and what Tang Ge wanted was that the other party, like Su Yunktao, could not see his real situation. Of course, I thought this way in my heart, but I couldn't say it out of my mouth. Faced with Deacon Matthew Nuo's disappointment, Tang Ge pretended to be stubborn and shook his head resolutely. I know the price of forcibly merging a 1000-year spirit ring, but my talent is not as good as others, and even if I spend my whole life, I'm afraid I won't be able to go too far. Rather than this, I am willing to learn from Epiphyllum, even if the time is short. I hope to burst out the world's dazzling light and so. Deacon Matthew Nuo, you don't need to persuade me anymore. As long as I have the opportunity, I will continue to integrate the second 1000-year soul ring and even the third 1000-year soul ring in the future. Even if I die, I believe that the Wuhan world will remember me as a pioneer who was strangled to death by a spirit ring. At the end, Tang Ge smiled happily. Deacon Matthew Nuo couldn't help being moved when he heard this. But then he shook his head and sighed helplessly. What a stubborn boy. That's all. Everyone has his own destiny, the road is his own, and others can't force it even if they want to. I hope he won't regret it in the end. It seemed that he was affected by Tang Ge's decision, So my Xiunuo didn't mention the matter of inviting the two to join the Wuhan temple anymore, but just sent the two of them to leave after registering them in the register. After leaving the Wuhan hall, Tang San finally couldn't help breaking the solemn and oppressive atmosphere between the two until he walked a long distance away. He stared at Tang Ge and said seriously, "I don't believe it." "What don't you believe?" Tang Ge was confused by Tang San's nonsensical words. Tang San turned his head and pointed to the Wuhan hall in the distance. "It's what you said to Deacon Matthew Nuo before. I know you didn't forcibly fuse the 1,000-year soul ring, but why did you say that before?" This is the doubt in Tang San's heart. But Tang Ge smiled and shook his head when he heard it. "Little San, what I said is true. It is true that you know that I am physically strong, and I can even kill a mandala snake, but, do you feel that what the master said is wrong? You must know that the master is the master of the martial arts world, and even the title Douluo admires the 10-core competitiveness of the martial arts proposed by the master. This world is so big, it's impossible that no one has the same physical fitness as me. In this case, why didn't their first soul ring integrate a 1,000-year level soul ring? If there is such an example, do you think the master is still a master? The 10-core competitiveness he put forward may have been overthrown and cast aside long ago. Yes. If someone can fuse a 1,000-year soul ring with the first soul ring, how can the teacher still be respected by the soul masters in the martial arts world? If it is possible to integrate a 1,000-year soul ring, how could the teacher only let me choose a soul ring that is more than 400 years old? Did the teacher do it on purpose? No, the teacher will never do this, and so. Distraught by Tang Ge's words, Tang San gradually cleared up his thoughts, and immediately raised his head to look at Tang Ge again. With a firm face, he said, "Tang Ge, although I don't know why you did this, but I will go to the teacher. I think the teacher must have a way to solve your problems." "Got it. Another child who was fooled by me." Tang Ge completely noticed Tang San's constantly changing expression just now. Hearing what the other party said at this moment, he couldn't help laughing secretly in his heart. But on the surface, Tang Ge had a calm face, as if he was not worried about his injured body at all, and urged with a smile. "Okay, don't think about it too much. Aren't you going to find a blacksmith to continue practicing forging skills? Go and find it while it's dark. As for me, I will go back to school first." Tang San was still thinking about what happened just now, and when he heard Tang Ge's words, he nodded involuntarily. "Well, I want to," but just halfway through the conversation, he suddenly realized something was wrong and many more. "When did I tell Tang Ge that I was looking for a blacksmith?" Tang San showed shock on his face. It's just that when he wanted to question Tang Ge, he saw that Tang Ge had walked away at some point, and the other party's laughter came. "Little San, hurry up and work hard. The wool on your body is getting less and less." "What kind of wool is getting less and less?" Hearing Tang Ge's words, Tang San didn't understand why. But then he couldn't help laughing bitterly. Tang Ge's really getting weirder and weirder. Forget it, I don't want him anymore. Go to a blacksmith shop and ask if they accept people, immediately. Tang San turned around and walked in another direction. Nodding college. On the way back to the dormitory, Tang Ge checked the system prompt by the way. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Matthew Nuo, and you got, shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Tang San and gained 150 shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Tang San and gained 150 shock points. 3 notification sounds, a total of, shock points were obtained. Seeing this, Tang Ge couldn't help showing a smile on his face, and nodded. Sure enough, it's not a waste of time to go out, and now it's close to, shock points. If you work harder, you can continue to open the roulette of the heavens. Just as I was thinking, I was already outside Kish. But when Tang Ge looked over, his brows were wrinkled, and there was a hint of doubt on his face. Why so many people? Ask for a recommendation ticket, ask for a recommendation ticket, ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 40. The New Generation Golden Iron Triangle Nodding City, Spirit Hall. When Tang Ge and Tang San left, they didn't know that Su Yangtao, who had helped them awaken their spirits, suddenly came back from outside. Reception hall on the first floor. Seeing Su Yangtao who came back, Maxi Unuo asked, "How is it? Did the investigation of the previous change in the sky have any clues?" "Not yet," Su Yangtao shook his head. After hearing this, Matthew Nuo was not disappointed, but said, "It's normal if you didn't find out, after all, it happened suddenly, and no one would have thought that it would happen. However, after receiving the notice from above, envoys from the temple will come to investigate this matter. In addition, the great prince of the empire will also come together, so we need to prepare in advance." When? Su Yanteo asked. Matthew Nuo shook his head. "I just got a notification, but I didn't tell us when. Is that so?" After hearing this, Su Yanteo had an idea in his mind, but when he was about to leave, he seemed to think of something, and asked again suddenly. "By the way, Sir Deacon, I just saw your face was heavy and gloomy. Could it be that something happened?" "Hey, speaking of it, this was also caused by two little guys who came to register as soul masters." Matthew Nuo showed helplessness, sighed, and talked about what happened before. Millennium Soul Ring? Su Yanteo, who was unprepared, was also shocked by the fact that someone's first soul ring was a 1,000-year soul ring and many more. Graphic Wuhan and blue silver grass? But after hearing about the Wuhan of a registered soul master, he suddenly remembered his experience in Holy Soul Village, and couldn't help asking quickly. "Master Deacon, do you know the names of those two children?" "Let me think about it. Well, it's called Tang San and Tang Ge." Matthew Nuo thought for a moment and said, "Indeed they are." After getting the confirmation, Su Yanteo couldn't help laughing wryly, and then told Myxiu Nuo that Tang Ge and Tang San were innately full of soul power. After hearing this, Deacon Matthew Nuo was also quite shocked. Immediately, he gave Su Yanteo a hard look. "This matter is so important, why didn't you tell me earlier, Master Deacon? I've been too busy recently, so I forgot about this matter." Su Yanteo smiled wryly. Matthew Nuo did not continue to pursue, but just shook his head helplessly. "Forget it, everyone is gone, and it's useless to say anything. If it's really impossible, after the envoy of the main hall arrives, I will tell the envoy about this matter. Perhaps, with the ability of the main hall or the holy hall, it might be possible to solve the problem on that kid." Su Yanteo didn't speak, but his eyes kept flickering, as if he was thinking about something. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Su Yanteo and gained, shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, shocked Myxiu Nuo, and gained, shock points. In the academy, Tang Ge, who had just walked to the door of Kish, paused, surprised by the two system prompts that suddenly sounded in his mind. "My own person is here, how can he receive the shock value of those two people for no reason?" Tang Ge was secretly surprised. But then he didn't have the heart to think about it, and his attention was directly attracted by the large number of college students gathered outside the gate of Kish. At the same time, the students gathered here also discovered Tang Ge. "Look, he is Tang Ge, the one who defeated Xiao Kellen." An exclamation suddenly sounded from the group of students. "What? This person is Tang Ge?" Hearing the exclamation, the gazes that had originally fallen on Tang Ge changed instantly. There was surprise and doubt in it, but more excited and hot. Being stared at by so many eyes, even Tang Ge couldn't help being taken aback, and couldn't help but take a step back. "What do you want to do? Fuck him." As a result, someone yelled loudly, and then nearly 100 students gathered in front of the Kish gate rushed towards Tang Ge like crazy. Seeing how excited they were, it seemed like they were going to tear Tang Ge apart. Paralysis. "You are cruel." After Tang Ge cursed in his heart, he turned around and fled towards the distance. Suddenly, as night fell, the quiet knot in college suddenly became lively. With the addition of a large number of people who eat melons, the team chasing Tang Ge is getting bigger and bigger. But fortunately, the teacher of the college finally appeared and stopped the further expansion of this farce. Afterwards, Tang Ge, who had escaped, learned from Wang Sheng, who had also experienced a tragic experience, that it was because of Xiao Kellen's loss in the competition. As a first ring battle soul master, Xiao Kellen's strength ranks high and not in college. In the end, he was defeated by a freshman who had just entered school, and he lost miserably. It is said that he knelt down and begged for mercy in the end. After this kind of thing spread, it directly slapped the senior academy in the face. Coupled with the empathy of a large number of seniors and juniors, many students began to feel uncomfortable, wondering why a little guy who had just entered school could write on their heads. So after being provoked by someone with a heart, Tang Ge immediately became the target of public criticism. In the end, as soon as the senior students organized, they formed a united front, and there was a tendency not to give up unless they obey Tang Ge's lessons. After knowing the cause and effect of the matter, Tang Ge suddenly became angry. He originally wanted to calm down and practice hard, but he didn't expect that he would not make trouble, but the trouble came to him instead. I really thought I was afraid of you when I ran away. So after asking the master that it's okay to shoot, as long as he doesn't maim people, Tang Ge won't go anywhere and stay in the academy. At the beginning, a large number of senior students came to challenge him, hoping to increase their popularity in the academy by defeating him. But unfortunately, these students who came here were all the same as Xiao Kelling back then. In the end, they all knelt in front of Tang Ge, crying and begging to surrender. Seeing such a strange scene, the students behind were immediately scared and gave up the challenge one after another. But how could Tang Ge fulfill their wish? Come as soon as you want. Just leave if you want. I really thought this was a vegetable market. So Tang Ge directly started from the 6th grade students, regardless of whether the other party was a soul master or not, or whether they agreed to the challenge or not, they were all beaten up by him. Later, Tang Ge thought it was too slow, so he dragged Tang San and Xiao Wu, who came back into the team together. Regardless of gender, regardless of senior or junior. Beat it all up and say it again. In this way, a year passed without knowing it. There were not many students in Nuabing Elementary Soul Master Academy, but none of them survived, and they were all beaten by Tang Ge's trio from beginning to end. Whenever the three of them passed by, everyone backed away 3 feet, not daring to approach. Even Kish has become an existence that cannot be provoked in the eyes of the academy students. Of course, for the high-level personnel of the academy, this matter was not stopped. Especially when they found out that after being beaten up, the students practiced harder than before, they were happy that such things happened more often. Moreover, Tang Ge and the 3 of them acted together every time. I don't know which teacher called them the Golden Iron Triangle on the spur of the moment. So far, this title has become popular in the academy instantly. Please recommend, please recommend, please recommend. Say the important thing 3 times. End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 41. I'm still that boy from before. A year has passed, and not in college also ushered in a holiday. As a large number of students left school to go home, the entire academy suddenly became empty. Early this morning, at the gate of the college, Master Yu Xiaogang is sending the 3 of Tang Ge off. Teacher, we are leaving, you take care of yourself in the academy, we will be back soon. Looking at the master who was alone, Tang San couldn't help saying. Yu Xiaogang reached out and touched Tang San's head, and spoke with a smile. Don't worry, the teacher will take care of himself, but you haven't been home for a year, it's time to go back and see your relatives. In addition, although the academy is on holiday, you must not slack off in your cultivation, you must continue to work hard. Let's go, take advantage of the morning and go home early. Well, teacher, let's go. Tang San nodded heavily. Immediately after Tang Ge and Xiao Wu said goodbye to the master, the 3 of them got into the carriage hired by the master for them and drove towards the outside of Notting City. Yu Xiaogang stood at the gate of the academy, watching the carriage gradually go away. It wasn't until he could no longer see the traces of the 3 of them that he withdrew his gaze. There was a trace of reluctance in his eyes, and there was also an expectation that he had never had before. Golden Iron Triangle. I really hope they can go on like this forever, not like me. Finally, Yu Xiaogang turned around and walked into the academy. The morning sun rises, and the soft sunlight shines down, reflecting a lonely figure that is drifting away. Creak, creak. Accompanied by the sound of wheels rubbing when the carriage was driving, the 3 of Tang Ge who were sitting in the carriage seemed to be returning to the Holy Soul Village, where they had been away for a year, and the atmosphere became extremely active. The 3 chattered non-stop. To be exact, Tang Ge and Tang San were listening, while Xiao Wu kept talking. Golden Iron Triangle, I don't know who gave us this title. It's really ugly. It always feels like a group of muscular men. It's a pity that the school is on vacation, and those classmates and seniors have all gone home, otherwise, as their sister Xiao, I must let them change their names to something nice. Oh. It's so uncomfortable to sit in this carriage. Xia isn't, Brother Tang. Where is Saint Soul Village and how long will it take to get there? The Golden Iron Triangle is the title Tang Ge and the 3 won after beating up the students of Not in College. But like Xiao Wu, Tang Ge didn't like this title either. Not to mention that it does sound like a group of muscular men, and this title originally belonged to Masters Yu Xiaogang, Liu Long and Flender. Yu Xiaogang, the Corner of Wisdom. Flender, Flying Corner. Liu Long, The Horn of Killing. What a nice name. Moreover, the three of them also have the golden sacred dragon with a martial soul fusion attack. The name is even taller, and the power is extremely powerful. Think about the spirits of himself, Tang San, and Xiao Wu. If he could use the martial soul fusion technique, the scene of a little white rabbit dancing on the yin and yang life and death map with grass growing could not help but appear in Tang Ge's mind. This picture is too spicy for the eyes. Thinking of this, Tang Ge couldn't help shivering, and quickly stopped thinking about it. Tang Ge, what's wrong with you? On the side, seeing Tang Ge's reaction, Tang San couldn't help but said. Tang Ge shook his head. Fine, then he looked at Xiao Wu with a smile, and said, when you arrive at Saint Soul Village, are you going to live at my house, or at Xiaozin's house? HMPH, I don't live in your house, I want to live in Xiaozin's house. Hearing Tang Ge's words, Xiao Wu couldn't help but raise her head with a proud face. Tang San was stunned for a moment, and said honestly, but Xiao Wu, my family is very poor, there is nothing I can entertain you, moreover, my father has a bad temper, it's okay, I'll be fine, Xiao Wu said with a smile. Tang San shook his head helplessly. Hope so, what? Little San, don't you want me to live in your house? No matter, I just want to live in your house. If you don't agree with me, I will bite you. After finishing speaking, Xiao Wu rushed towards Tang San directly. Tang Ge, who was already sitting in the innermost part of the car, looked at the two people who were fighting together, and suddenly smiled secretly in his heart. Who said that rabbits don't eat grass beside their nests? I really don't know much. In this way, the three of them were talking and laughing in the carriage, and half a day passed without knowing it. Wait until noon. In the distance, the outline of Holy Soul Village could finally be faintly seen. The carriage also stopped here, and after the three of them got off, they turned around and returned to Nodding City. Near Nostalgia Cowardice. Looking at the Holy Soul Village in the distance, Tang Ge and Tang San couldn't help feeling uneasy. Little San, brother Tang, what are you doing standing there? Hurry up, in front, Xiao Wu couldn't help urging. Tang Ge took a deep breath, a smile appeared on his face again, and he turned to Tang San. You and Xiao Wu wait for me here for a while, I'll go back as soon as I go. After speaking, he turned around and rushed towards the dense forest ahead. Xiao Wu did not know when she came to Tang San's side. When she saw Tang Ge leaving, she couldn't help feeling puzzled on her little face, and said, Little San, where did brother Tang go? I don't know, but let's wait here for a while. Tang Ge said he will be back soon. Tang San shook his head. After Xiao Wu heard this, she could only stay in place with Tang San and wait worriedly. Time passed slowly. For about a quarter of an hour, Xiao Wu, who was bouncing around in boredom, suddenly gave a surprise, pointed at the woods in front of her and said loudly, Little San, look quickly, brother Tang seems to be back with two big things on his back, carrying something big? Tang San didn't know why, but when he looked in the direction Xiao Wu pointed, a black line suddenly appeared on his forehead. Soon, a figure appeared in front of the two of them. It was Tang Ge who had left before. But at this moment, he came back carrying a wild boar corpse the size of a calf on each of his left and right shoulders. Blood was still flowing from the corpse, and it was obvious that he had just died not long ago. Looking at Tang San and Xiao Wu who were still waiting here, Tang Ge smiled and said, I kept you waiting, let's go back to the village, don't you have storage space? Why are you still carrying it? Tang San couldn't help but said. Tang Ge shook the two big wild boar corpses on his shoulders, smiled mysteriously, and strode directly towards the Holy Soul Village without answering. Immediately afterwards, there was a strange humming sound in front of him. I'm still the boy I was before, nothing has changed. Little San, what the hell is brother Tang talking about? Why can't I understand? Xiao Wu tilted her head, asking Tang San suspiciously. Tang San looked back from Tang Ge. Thinking of his experience when he was still in the village a year ago, he shook his head helplessly. You just think it's that guy who wants to get the praise and approval of the aunts and uncles in the village for some unspeakable reasons. Oh, it turns out that brother Tang is so pitiful, so let's praise him more in the future. Hearing Tang San's words, Xiao Wu's face suddenly showed sympathy. I don't want to say anything, I just want you, the recommendation tickets in your hands. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42. Behind. Tang Ge didn't hear the conversation between Tang San and Xiao Wu. Otherwise, he would have to be so angry that he would throw away the body, then turn around and go back, and beat up Tang San, a boy who is also gradually becoming bad. Soon, Tang Ge returned to the Holy Soul Village first. As soon as he returned to Holy Soul Village, he was noticed by the villagers when he was carrying 2 big wild boar corpses. Because it's just been a year. So these villagers quickly recognized Tang Ge. All of a sudden, bursts of exclamations sounded. Oh! Isn't this the little guy from Jack's family? I remember he went to Notting City to go to school. Why did he suddenly come back now? 1 year has passed. Xiao Tang Ge came back suddenly. It must be because the academy is on vacation. However, I don't know if Xiao Tang Ge has become a soul master. Stupid. To be able to carry 2 wild boar corpses this big, you must be a soul master. Oh my god, Xiao Tang Ge has become a soul master at such a young age? Thinking about my baby is still mowing grass in the field with his awakened sickle. I am really angry. Why don't I go to the field and beat the baby? I want to beat my baby too. How about forming a team? Tang Ge couldn't help but secretly smiled when he heard the chattering voices of the villagers around him, as well as the system prompts that kept ringing in his mind. Sure enough, the simple villagers had the best time harvesting. Then to celebrate my return from studying abroad. In front of the villagers, he used his hands as knives to cut the 2 big wild boar corpses into countless pieces. The blood that flowed out was also caught by the empty wooden barrel taken from the system space. The villagers watching around had never seen such a battle, and they all let out a burst of exclamation. Tang Ge looked at the hands that were not stained with a trace of blood, and was very satisfied. Then he directly laughed and said loudly, passing by, don't miss it, wild boar meat is free, and each household is limited to 1 piece. That fat uncle with the knife? Yes, don't look at other people, it's yours. What are you doing in a daze? Hurry up and get it. The fat uncle named by Tang Ge was the butcher in the village, and there was a little girl who was gnawing her finger beside him. She looked up and saw Tang Ge, tilted her head and thought about it, and suddenly burst into tears. Baba, Baba, he is the one who snatched Chia's candied haws. What? Dare to snatch my daughter's candied haws? Uncle Slaughter, who was thinking about trying in the past, changed his face, and raised the butcher knife in his right hand involuntarily. Tang Ge's face twitched slightly, a little embarrassed. I didn't expect a little girl to have such a good memory at such a young age. However, isn't it just grabbing a string of candied haws? Is wild boar worth it? So before the surrounding villagers realized what was going on, Tang Ge immediately and quietly pointed 2 fingers at the opposite butcher uncle. Uncle Butcher understood immediately after seeing it. Then he slapped his daughter's ass directly. What nonsense are you talking about? Big brother is such a good person, he will grab you to eat candied haws? Stand still while Papa brings you wild boar. After finishing speaking, the butcher uncle ran up to Tang Ge in a hurry. He quickly wrapped a piece of meat with the apron on his body, and then blocked another piece of meat on the surface. Xiao Tang, come to my house when you have time, Yale likes you so much, you have to treat her better. Feeling the fullness in his arms, Uncle Butcher became more satisfied the more he watched Tang Ge. However, he could only turn around reluctantly and leave when he heard his daughters while crying loudly. Tang Ge looked at Uncle Butcher's back, speechless. You started selling your daughter at such a young age? Aren't you afraid that your daughter will sell you when she grows up? Thinking about it, Tang Ge shifted his eyes to the villagers again. With the leader of Uncle Butcher, the surrounding villagers no longer hesitated, and rushed over to collect the wild meat. Seeing them leave happily, Tang Ge was also very satisfied. In the distance, at some point Tang San and Xiao Wu followed. Seeing the heartfelt smile on Tang Ge's face who was distributing wild boar meat to the villagers, even Tang San couldn't help being moved. He nodded and said, Xiao Wu, what you said before is correct, let's treat Tang Ge better in the future, praise him more. Okay, Xiao Wu agreed very much. After that, they didn't go up to help, but watched for a while, and then walked towards the home at the west end of the village. Tang Ge's distribution of wild boar meat did not last long. The enthusiasm of the villagers was very high, and the wild boar meat was emptied in less than a quarter of an hour. In the end, even the bucket of pig blood was not spared, and it went into pots and pans. Tang Ge didn't care about this. After leaving behind the wild meat he needed, He turned and walked towards home. Soon, Tang Ge returned home. While shouting, he pushed open the courtyard door and walked in. "Grandpa, I'm back," but no one answered. Tang Ge walked around the house, and then suddenly remembered that Grandpa Jack should have gone to Tang San's house. In that case, Tang San's father has already left Saint Soul Village for Notting City. Recalling the development of the plot, Tang Ge muttered to himself. Immediately, he didn't go out to find Grandpa Jack, but went straight to the kitchen. It happened to be noon, and Tang Ge was going to cook a sumptuous lunch himself. In this way, accompanied by the crackling sound, the smell of meat wafted out of the kitchen after a while. While Tang Ge was making lunch, old Jack also came back from the outside on crutches. Smelling the fragrance, he couldn't help showing doubts on his old face. Who is cooking? Could it be that Xiao Tang Ge is back? Thinking of this, old Jack immediately walked towards the kitchen. When he finally came to the door of the kitchen and saw the familiar little figure inside, he immediately smiled in relief. Little Tang Ge has grown up. Tang Ge was still cooking, and he didn't seem to notice the old Jack who came back. Old Jack didn't call Tang Ge, but closed the yard door first, and then went to the back room. When he came out again, he was holding a square box that seemed to have been placed for a long time in his hand. There's mold all over the box. But old Jack held this square box as if holding a treasure, with great care. Just in time, Tang Ge also came out of the kitchen after finishing his work. Seeing old Jack not far away, he walked over quickly in surprise. "Grandpa, when did you come back?" "Not long after I came back. I didn't expect Xiao Tang to grow so tall after a year of absence." Old Jack stretched out his hand and touched Tang Ge's head, saying in relief. Immediately, he seemed to think of something, and handed the square box in his hand to Tang Ge. "Grandpa doesn't have any precious items, only this one and only private collection can be given to you, hidden." Hearing what Grandpa Jack said, Tang Ge looked curious, and reached out to take the square box. The old village chief Jack even took out his only private possession. "Don't you guys still hand over your recommendation tickets? Ask for a recommendation ticket." End of this chapter. Period. Chapter 43 1 against 2, it's worth it. "Grandpa, what's in here?" Tang Ge asked curiously while taking the square box. Old Jack smiled mysteriously. "Open it and see for yourself." Seeing the mysterious look on Grandpa's face, Tang Ge became more and more curious. He glanced at the rotten lock on the square box, stretched out his right hand and exerted a little force, and with a click, the rotten lock was crushed directly. When the lid of the box was opened and the contents inside were seen, Tang Ge, who was originally curious, couldn't help being stunned, and then immediately shocked. It turned out to be a dark golden glove. And feeling the fluctuation of soul power released from the glove, Tang Ge knew that this glove was the same soul tool as Tang San's belt. However, how could the village chief Grandpa have a soul guide? After the shock, Tang Ge looked up at the smiling old Jack, and couldn't help but speak. "Grandpa, do you know what this is?" snapped. As a result, as soon as he finished asking, old Jack knocked on the head, and at the same time, he heard the other party's reproachful words. "Little Tang Ge, what are you talking about? What do you mean, Grandpa? Do you know what this is?" Grandpa is always getting old, but his eyes are still bright. And it's not that Grandpa didn't go out and venture out when he was young, it's Grandpa's regret that he didn't become a soul master. It can be seen that his knowledge is much better than many people. This fist is a soul tool. You may have heard of it when you went to the academy. If you weren't my grandson, I wouldn't be willing to take it out. At the end of the conversation, old Jack suddenly looked proud. If Tang Ge hadn't lived with old Jack for 6 years, he would know him well. Hearing what the other party said now, "I thought the legendary soul saint in the village was the other party. However, since the village chief's grandfather is not a soul sage, why would there be a soul guide?" Tang Ge couldn't help asking this doubt. But facing Tang Ge's question, old Jack just shook his head. "I can't say much about the rest, and I don't know much about what happened back then. You just need to remember that our holy soul village really produced a soul saint. And the soul tool glove in your hand is left by that soul sage. It turns out that there really was a soul saint in Saint Soul Village." Hearing the words of the village chief's grandfather, Tang Ge couldn't help being secretly surprised. But since the other party didn't want to say more, he didn't continue to ask. After taking out the glove according to the method of using the soul tool, he directly input a trace of soul power hum. As the dark golden light flickered, the glove originally worn by Tang Ge on his right hand disappeared instantly. But Tang Ge felt it and knew that the glove didn't disappear, but turned into another form and hid it. As long as he stimulates his soul power, he can summon it at any time. Not only that, as a legendary soul tool, Tang Ge was secretly surprised by the power of the glove. Although he didn't try it, he could clearly feel that if the gauntlet of this soul tool was combined with a heavenly god fist, a soul master of the same level could be killed with a single punch in close proximity. How is it? Do you like it? Old Jack's voice sounded. Tang Ge withdrew his gaze from the glove, looked at the kind-hearted grandfather, and nodded immediately. Well, I like it, thank you Grandpa. Thank you. Let's go. Didn't you make lunch? Just let Grandpa taste Xiao Tang Ge's cooking. With that said, Old Jack took Tang Ge's hand and walked towards the kitchen together. Afternoon, 2 o'clock. After the village chief's grandfather rested, Tang Ge left the house quietly. He originally wanted to go to Tang San's house, but thinking that the other party left because of his father, he probably went out with Xiao Wu to relax. So Tang Ge went straight out of Holy Soul Village and walked towards the hillside where he and Tang San used to exercise when they were in the village. And this moment, on a hillside covered with blue-silver grass, two figures were lying on the ground head to head, with their eyes slightly closed enjoying the sunshine. These two are exactly Tang San and Xiao Wu. In the quiet and comfortable atmosphere, Xiao Wu suddenly said, Xiao San, can I not call you brother? Why? Tang San, who was lying down, couldn't help but sit up, staring straight at Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu's face was flushed red by the sight. She got up from the ground with a snort, and ran away, bouncing into the distance. She turned around in the blue-silver grass all over the mountain and said with a proud face, at least I'm not in college. Those students who were defeated by me all called me Miss Xiao. Wouldn't it be embarrassing for them to hear me calling you a brother? Hearing Xiao Wu's reason, Tang San smiled helplessly. Okay, you can still call me Xiao, as long as I know in my heart that you are my sister. Then he caught up with Xiao Wu, directly took off a weird machine expansion from his right arm, and handed it to the other party. Come on, Xiao Wu, this thing is for you. What is this? Xiao Wu took over the weird machine expansion and asked curiously. Tang San smiled and explained. This is a sleeve arrow, and it can also be a silent arrow. Come, Xiao Wu, I will help you bring it, and then I will teach you how to use it. As he spoke, he walked behind Xiao Wu, reached out and raised Xiao Wu's arm, and put the sleeve arrow on it. But just when Tang San was about to teach Xiao Wu how to use it, a cough suddenly sounded. At the same time, some jokes were passed on. I said why I couldn't find you, so I hid here. But, what are you doing? The two of you are almost hugging each other. When the sound sounded, Tang San and Xiao Wu were startled. Immediately afterwards, Xiao Wu's face turned red. She quickly broke free from her arms, and retreated 4 or 5 meters away. Tang San was also extremely embarrassed. But when he saw Tang Ge coming from a distance, he immediately said with a straight face, I was teaching Xiao Wu some skills just now, don't talk nonsense. That is, Xiao Wu also pinched Xiao Men's waist with both hands, and said angrily. Tang Ge smiled and nodded. Well, I know you are teaching Xiao Wu skills, a very peculiar skill, no need to explain. Having been with Tang Ge for such a long time, Tang San already knew that the other party liked to say strange things. Although he didn't quite understand what he said, but when he heard it, he definitely didn't want to say anything good, and suddenly he had the urge to fight Tang Ge here again. But before Tang San could speak, Xiao Wu couldn't help but directly release the beast spirit, and possessed it on her body. She stared wide-eyed and shouted to Tang Ge angrily, Tang Ge, I want to challenge you, okay? Want to challenge me? Hearing Xiao Wu's words, Tang Ge was slightly surprised. But then he laughed outright. Ha ha ha. Alright, you and Xiao will fight together. Tang Ge, 1 versus 2, it's worth it. 1 watch in the morning, happy life. Ask for a recommendation ticket. Ask for a recommendation ticket. Ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 44 Level 24, Great Soul Master. After a year of training, Tang San's spirit power had risen from level 13 to level 17, which was already an extraordinary speed among his age. This is all thanks to his Zuanshan Kung Fu. So Tang San thought that after a year passed, even if he didn't catch up with Tang Ge, the distance between him and him was getting smaller and smaller. At least, Tang San didn't think that Tang Ge had obtained the second spirit ring, and his spirit power had broken through to the Great Soul Master. And Xiao Wu also practiced very fast after obtaining the first soul ring, and now she has a 16th level of soul power cultivation. if the two are united together. Tang San believed that even if they met a strong soul master, they would still be able to fight, but now Tang Ge actually planned to, and let himself and Xiao Wu fight together? It must be too crazy. At this moment, no matter how good Tang San's personality was, he couldn't help being very angry at Tang Ge's words. He looked at Tang Ge and said seriously, "Are you sure you want me to fight with Xiao Wu? Since it is a challenge, Xiao Wu and I will definitely go all out." "That's right, Xiao and I will beat you until your nose is bruised and your face is swollen, making you arrogant," Xiao Wu agreed. Listening to what the two said, Tang Ge smiled and shook his head. "Come on, let me see how much progress you two have made this year." HMPH, Little Sen, stop talking nonsense with Tang Ge, beat him up. After the words fell, Xiao Wu rushed towards Tang Ge first. In the middle of the journey, as the yellow soul ring flickered on her body, the small leather shoes on her feet kicked the ground slightly, and the whole person immediately got off the ground. In the air, after turning her lithe body a few times, she just landed behind Tang Ge, and kicked Tang Ge hard on the head. The first soul skill, waist bow, a powerful force burst out, and the void trembled slightly. But in the face of this, Tang Ge still had a smile on his face, and just stretched out his hand and released a huge force, directly grabbing the ankle kicked by Xiao Wu. A burst of pain hit, Xiao Wu's pretty face changed slightly. She had no choice but to turn her whole body into a boneless snake. With the help of soul skills, quickly escaped with her feet from Tang Singer, and at the same time stepped back 5 or 6 meters away. At this time, Tang San's voice followed from not far away. "Soul skill, entanglement, swish swish." I saw the yellow light flickering, and countless blue-silver grasses mutated rapidly after the input of surging soul power, swimming on the ground like snakes and rushing towards Tang Ge. And behind Tang San, a phantom of a mandala snake faintly appeared, making bursts of neighing obviously. Knowing the weirdness of Tang Ge's first soul ability, many students of not in college broke down and begged for mercy for no reason. Tang San didn't want to be treated like this. So in order to prevent Tang Ge from launching his soul skills, he took advantage of the time when Xiao Wu attacked Tang Ge, and immediately used his martial soul skills. The blue-silver grass, which had been made extremely hard by the mandala snake soul ring, was very fast, and it climbed to Tang Ge's feet in the blink of an eye after it appeared. Tang Ge didn't seem to notice it, and let the hard blue-silver grass keep crawling on him. In the blink of an eye, he was bound into a rice dumpling by thick, long and hard blue-silver grass, unable to move. Until now, Tang San couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He looked at Tang Ge, who was trapped, with a smile on his face, and said, "Tang Ge, you are entangled by my martial spirit, you can't break free. Moreover, the blue-silver grass also has an anesthetic effect. Do you feel weak and unable to use your soul power? Unable to use soul power?" Hearing Tang San's words, Tang Ge raised his brows, and his face suddenly felt strange. He can clearly feel the soul power in his body clearly, and it is no problem to mobilize the soul power. As for the anesthetic effect of the blue-silver grass that Tang San said, when the blue-silver grass was entangled all over his body, Tang Ge really felt the feeling of a large number of thorns about to pierce his body. But unfortunately, even if he didn't activate the ancient saint physique much, its powerful defense cannot be broken by these blue-silver grasses, and so, can a pile of grass trap me? Tang Ge began to use his strength gradually, and the surging power quickly gathered together like a waking beast, and then coordinated with the operation of the soul power. All of them burst out with a bang, puff, puff. Accompanied by bursts of shattering sounds, the blue-silver grass that Tang San thought was extremely hard at this moment was torn apart and shattered one by one like brittle paper. In the blink of an eye, all the blue-silver grass wrapped around Tang Ge's body was destroyed. Tang Ge walked out from one of them with a calm face. "Tang Ge, why do you?" Witnessing the scene, Tang San was extremely shocked and couldn't help but speak. But before he could finish speaking, a white light suddenly poured into his body, making him so comfortable that he immediately closed his eyes. Suddenly there was a whistling wind behind him. Tang Ge, who just gave Tang San a pleasant light, didn't even look at it, so he smiled and flung it back. Another white light fell down. PFFT. Xiao Wu, who was about to attack Tang Ge from behind, followed Tang San, lying directly on the ground, not knowing what dream she was having, her pretty face showing a touch of rosiness. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Tang San and gained 150 shock points. Ding dong, Congratulations to the host, you shocked Xiao Wu and gained 140 shock points. Two system prompts sounded in my mind. Tang Ge looked at Tang San and Xiao Wu, who were directly subdued by his two joy skills, couldn't help but put his hands behind his back, looked up at the sky and sighed softly. It's so cold at the heights, the loneliness is so unbearable. Immediately, in front of his eyes, a virtual frame appeared directly. Shocking system, host, Tang Ge, level 24 Great Soul Master, Martial Soul, Twin Martial Soul, Yin and Yang Life and Death Diagram, Four Swords of Zuxian, Soul Ring, Yin Yang Life and Death Diagram, Purple, Soul Skill, Pleasure, Flying, Martial Arts, Random Cloaking Windhammer Method, Secretive Zing Character, Hell Smelting, Heavenly God Fist, Physique, Ancient Saint Physique, Fusion 65%, Shock Value 6,120. Looking at the information panel in front of him that belonged to him, Tang Ge's face was full of smiles. Not bad. With the assistance of the 9 Aperture Golden Elixir, coupled with the devouring power of the cultivation method Hell Furnace, Tang Ge's cultivation of soul power is extremely fast. In just 1 year, he was no longer the 17th level Soul Master when he registered at the Wuhan Temple, but became a 24th level Great Soul Master. Coupled with Yu Fengai's 1,000-year soul ring that was obtained in a lottery, no one knows about Tang Ge's breakthrough. And by the way, even his ancient holy body fusion rate has directly reached 65%, only 35% away from successfully entering the awakening stage. So in the face of the joint attack of Tang Ge and Xiao Wu, Tang Ge is completely an adult bullying a child, and winning is effortless. It's just that the only thing that makes Tang Ge depressed is that perhaps it was because the previous 10 consecutive draws had exhausted his luck, and in the next 2 draws, all he got was rubbish that no one picked up after throwing it away. As for what it is, not to mention, there are so few recommended tickets. Ask for a recommendation ticket, ask for 1,000,000 rewards, please. End of this chapter. Chapter 45 Overbearing Hell Furnace. Although Tang Ge's first soul skill Joy is effective, its duration is not long. In just a moment, Tang San and Xiao Wu broke away from it one after another. Seeing herself lying on the ground, Xiao Wu blushed and quickly stood up. She didn't do anything again, but gave Tang Ge a hard look. Brother Tang is so disgusting that he treats a girl like this. It was you who challenged me, now blame me? Tang Ge was speechless. Then he looked at Tang San, and said, how about it, do you want to continue? Forget it, you win. Hearing Tang Ge's words, Tang San shook his head and smiled wryly. Originally Tang San thought that with himself and Xiao Wu teaming up, even if he couldn't beat Tang Ge, at least he could win, But the result was completely unexpected. The two lost too fast, and they lost badly. Especially thinking of the indescribable feeling after receiving Tang Ge's soul ability just now, Tang San felt chills. If this was the enemy, he and Xiao Wu would have died long ago. Thinking of this, Tang San still couldn't help being curious, and asked, Tang Ge, what level is your soul power now? I'm afraid of hurting you when I say it, so I don't want to tell you, Tang Ge said with a smile. Afraid of hitting me? Hearing Tang Ge's answer, Tang San's breath was stagnant, and he suddenly felt that the conversation could not continue. Xiao Wu also puffed her cheeks, and said angrily, Xiao San, ignore him, let him be proud here alone. Saying that, she directly took Tang San's hand and ran away. Seeing the figures of the two leaving, Tang Ge smiled lightly and followed them away. Because Tang San's father left, Tang San only stayed at home for a day, then returned to Notting City with Xiao Wu. Tang Ge did not go with them, but stayed in Holy Soul Village and spent more than 10 days with old Grandpa Jack. Seeing that the holiday was coming to an end, Tang Ge said goodbye to his grandfather and left the Holy Soul Village. There were 3 of them when they came back, and they were still in a carriage. Tang Ge was the only one left when he left. But even on foot, he had to go through the jungle on the way, and he traveled very fast. After just over an hour, Tang Ge returned to Notting City. But he was not in a hurry to go to Notting College. Instead, he bought some daily necessities in Notting City and went straight to the hunting forest. There's still some time before the academy starts, and Tang Ge is going to use this time to practice harder. The team is formed. There is an urgent need for healing system soul masters, and beautiful women will be sent to the team. The excrement of the century-old soul beast nether leopard. You can't buy it to lose money, you can't buy it to be fooled. It is the guarantee for you to rest at night. Only 1 gold soul coin is needed. As always, in the bazaar outside the hunting forest, there were all kinds of cries. However, with Tang Ge's arrival, the attention of the soul masters gathered here suddenly turned to Tang Ge. They all seemed to recognize Tang Ge, and their eyes were full of enthusiasm when they looked at Tang Ge. On the spot, a team leader who had just called out for lack of healing system soul masters rushed over impatiently. He came to Tang Ge and said eagerly, "Brother Tang Ge, are you going to hunting soul forest? Join our team. Look, there's a beauty in our team this time. As long as you join our team, she will be yours in the next adventure." As he spoke, he reached out and pointed to his team. Tang Ge looked in the direction pointed by the other party, and sure enough, he saw a woman who was still charming and gesturing towards him. Cut. This kind of thing also wants to seduce me. Think beautifully. Tang Ge curled his lips, ignored the other party, and continued to walk forward. Soon, a large number of soul masters came up and used various benefits to get Tang Ge to join the team. But Tang Ge refused all of them, and soon walked out of the market and disappeared into the dark gate in the distance. For a while, all the soul masters in the market were disappointed. You must know that this is not the first time they have seen Tang Ge come here in this year. Originally, these soul masters didn't care about a teenager who was only in his teens. But after I don't know which team was lucky enough to let Tang Ge join, I immediately saw Tang Ge's extraordinary martial soul healing skills. That kind of healing technique can not only heal the injury, but also make the body and mind feel happy, and I can't wait to indulge in it all the time. It's just that this news was spread by some careless person in the team. As a result, after other teams confirmed the news, the soul masters who came to the hunting forest to obtain the soul ring went crazy. Every time Tang Ge appears, he must be the target of their competition. It's a pity that money is easy to find, but Tang Ge is rare. Not all teams are lucky enough to have Tang Ge join. As for those teams who wanted to kidnap Tang Ge by cheating, they haven't come out since they entered the hunting soul forest. This made the other adventurer teams even more afraid to think carefully. In the hunting soul forest, although Tang Ge didn't know the situation in the market outside at the moment, he could probably guess it. But for Tang Ge, this is just a small episode that doesn't matter. You can't even tell his real age, so you still want him to join? Want to eat fart? Thinking of this, Tang Ge has already accelerated his speed, did not stop at the periphery, and went straight to the depths of the hunting soul forest. Because he came here many times with a warrant issued by the Wuhan Temple in a year, Tang Ge is already familiar with the hunting soul forest. Not long after, he came to a small valley deep in the forest. Wait until the soul beasts living in it are driven away with fists to the flesh. Looking at the green plants all over the mountains and plains, Tang Ge suddenly showed a satisfied smile on his face. It's here. Immediately, he sat cross-legged on the ground. With the urging of the soul power, it was immediately visible that in Tang Ge's body, a huge melting furnace slowly formed, and then began to rotate. This is Tang Ge's cultivation method hell furnace. I saw that the rotation of the hell furnace gradually condensed into a tornado-like vortex, and centered on Tang Ge's body, forming a terrifying suction force. As soon as this suction force was released, visible to the naked eye, the nearest green grass turned from emerald green to withered yellow, and then turned into ashes and scattered around when the wind blew. At the same time, an extremely strong force of vitality was directly sucked into the furnace of hell along the suction force. Even if it is not the first time to practice, Tang Ge is amazed every time he sees such a domineering devouring power of the hell furnace cultivation method. It is precisely because of this that he was able to directly raise his soul power to level 24 within a year. The furnace of hell was still spinning, and after refining the vitality, it began to spit out. Feeling the unparalleled energy filling his body, Tang Ge didn't dare to hesitate, and immediately concentrated on absorbing these pure energies to improve his soul power. Please recommend, please recommend, please recommend. End of this chapter. Chapter 46. This breath, could it be her? In the valley, Tang Ge was sitting cross-legged on the ground and was practicing quietly, but at some point, a dark green vortex had formed around his body. This vortex was spinning rapidly, and the terrifying devouring force released continuously devoured the emerald green light bands from all directions. The belt of light struggled violently as if alive, but was still swallowed into Tang Ge's body in the end. And the vitality condensed on Tang Ge's body became more and more intense as time went by. His exposed skin became even fairer, crystal clear like jade, shining brightly in the sun. But look around. It was supposed to be a valley full of verdant mountains, but at this moment, it seems that it has experienced a devastating catastrophe, and there is no intact flower or plant. There are dry grass roots and gray-black ashes everywhere. Even the big trees on the hillside in the distance became completely bare without a single leaf left. But weirdly, these flowers and plants were obviously all dead, leaving no trace of vitality, but the breeze blew past, and the air was filled with a strong vitality. I don't know when. At the mouth of the valley more than, meters away, a group of ghost wolves has already gathered here. They seem to be attracted by the rich vitality here, and they are greedily staring at Tang Ge, who is enveloped in a thick green vortex in the valley. Among them was another wolf king whose soul age had reached 100 years, and let out bursts of deep roars. However, due to the influence of the strange environment of the valley, the ghost wolf king has been lingering here, refusing to enter. But after a while, the devouring power spread to Taniguchi. The vegetation on the surrounding ground was affected, and suddenly changed rapidly, turning yellow little by little from the tip of the leaf to the root of the leaf. An intense crisis is approaching. Instead of retreating, the Nether Wolf King let out a long howl. Now, under its long howl, more than a dozen ghost wolves around immediately roared and rushed directly into the valley. The Nether Wolf King, who also entered the valley, was much slower. Its bloodthirsty wolf eyes are full of cunning and vigilance. Swish, swish, swish. The dozen or so ghost wolves rushing into the valley were very fast, running like a black mountain top, and within a few flashes they were only a few meters away from Tang Ge. Their wolf eyes were full of greed when they looked at Tang Ge, as if they could become a wolf king if they swallowed his human being. However, these ghost wolves did not find it. The moment they stepped into the valley, their vitality began to leak out bit by bit. Getting closer. Finally, when Tang Ge was only 2 meters away, the dozen or so ghost wolves rushing over couldn't help their eagerness anymore, and rushed forward with a whimper. Then they plunged into the dark green swirlhum. At this moment, the thick green vortex suddenly trembled, and then erupted with a more terrifying devouring power than before. Waves of wailing sounds suddenly came out of the vortex. The dozen or so ghost wolves that had just rushed into the vortex were fixed in midair, howling and struggling. Only fear and despair remained in the greedy wolf eyes. Visible to the naked eye, their bodies are shriveling. Instead, streams of strong vitality were extracted, merged with the surrounding green light bands, and entered Tang Ge's body together. At last, as all the vitality was extracted, the dozen shriveled ghost wolves that were frozen in midair seemed to have been weathered, and suddenly disappeared not far away. Seeing this scene, the Nether Wolf King, who was about to rush over, was so frightened that he quickly used his paws, forcefully making his huge body rub against the ground to stop. Then it fled directly out of the valley with its tail between its legs. But at this moment, Tang Ge, who had been immersed in cultivation, suddenly opened his eyes. Seeing the Nether Wolf King fleeing out of the valley, he smiled slightly, and after the yin-yang life and death diagram emerged from his left hand, he went straight to the Nether Wolf King call out. Under the urging of the soul power, the yin and yang life and death diagram, like a scroll, suddenly flew out like a flying sword. In the blink of an eye, it caught up with the fleeing Nether Wolf King, rolled it up after spreading out, and then soared into the sky like a rocket. After an unknown amount of time, a black shadow descended from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. Boom! A deep pit was directly smashed out of the flat ground. With the disappearance of the vortex, Tang Ge used the furnace of hell to absorb the last trace of life, and finally ended his cultivation. He got up and walked slowly to the deep pit, looked down at the Nether Wolf King who had been smashed down to the ground, and couldn't help but praise him. Being able to experience the feeling of flying into the sky, you Wolf King deserves to die. What Tang Ge used just now was his second soul skill, flying. The function of this soul skill is to have the ability to fly in advance with the help of the yin-yang life and death diagram of the martial soul, of course. If you only listen to the name, some people will think that it is just like the first soul ability, which is partial to support, and its effect is not worthy of the soul ability of the 1,000-year soul ring. But if the enemy really dares to underestimate him, Tang Ge will tell him to understand that assisting soul skills can also become killing skills. Just like just now. After calming down, Tang Ge stopped paying attention to the Nether Wolf King who died in the deep pit. He shook his head helplessly when he saw the valley that was sucked into a barren valley by himself. Hell Furnace is strong, but it's too domineering, and almost no grass grows in the place it passes through. Forget it, we can't stay here, let's talk about it in another place, Immediately, Tang Ge summoned the yin and yang life and death diagram again, preparing to fly away from here. But right now, a whistling sound suddenly came from behind him, followed by a piercing cold light piercing into the back of his head, causing a burst of pain. Tang Ge's complexion changed suddenly, and without thinking about it, he wrapped himself in the yin and yang life and death diagram, and then flew directly more than 10 meters away with himself. Where he was originally standing, a dazzling golden light fist appeared, and it hit his afterimage hard boom. As the golden light fist exploded, there was an explosion in the space. Then a slender figure appeared from behind the golden light shield. This is an exceptionally handsome young man with blonde hair. He is about 16 years old and exudes a noble aura. More importantly, when Tang Ge saw this mysterious boy who suddenly appeared and attacked him, Tang Ge felt a familiar aura from him, sacred, bright. This is exactly the same as the breath of the feather from the holy Kesa that Tang Ge drew before. And on the Douluo Continent, except for that family, there is no one else who can possess this kind of sacred aura. Thinking of this, Tang Ge's heart moved, and he couldn't help being secretly surprised. Is it nothing to say, I just want a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 47. As soon as the mysterious boy appeared, his cold eyes fell directly on Tang Ge, who was more than 10 meters away. What an evil soul master, dare to openly appear in the hunting soul forest. Aren't you afraid of death? His voice was full of murderous intent. But when he heard the words of the mysterious boy, Tang Ge, who was secretly thinking about things, couldn't help but startled. When did I become an evil soul master? But when he saw the situation in the valley, he suddenly realized. It turned out that it was all the pot of cultivation just now. Tang Ge naturally knew something about the evil soul master, knowing that it was a kind of existence that practiced by devouring soul power, soul ring, spiritual power, flesh and blood, soul, martial soul, etc. On the Douluo Continent, the evil soul masters can be punished by everyone. If this is the case, Tang Ge's method of directly devouring the vitality of plants and soul beasts for cultivation just now is indeed no different from that of an evil soul master. That's why when the mysterious boy appeared, he would kill him directly. But even so, Tang Ge would not think that he was an evil soul master. At most he would admit that his cultivation method just seemed a bit domineering. Therefore, he looked at the mysterious young man opposite him, and spoke uprightly. You can eat food indiscriminately, but you can't talk indiscriminately. Did I kill or set fire to you? You say I am an evil soul master? Let me tell you, I am an upright person and never lie, so don't wrong me, I will be angry. HMPH. Strong words. Let's take you down first and ask about the forces behind you. The mysterious boy looked cold. He didn't believe Tang Ge's rhetoric at all, and after a low snort, he rushed towards Tang Ge directly. The distance of more than 10 meters is reached in an instant. When the mysterious boy appeared in front of Tang Ge, a yellow halo suddenly emerged from him. Immediately there was a dazzling golden light shining, and as the mysterious boy punched out, it instantly turned into a golden fist and rushed to Tang Ge's heart. At this moment, Tang Ge clearly felt that his soul power was being suppressed, and there was a tendency to melt it. He was secretly surprised, but not afraid. Seeing the golden fist imprint approaching, a purple halo emerged from under Tang Ge's feet. In the rustling of the yin-yang life and death diagram of Wuhan, the power of yin turned into a black beam of light and descended from the sky. The moment it collided with a golden fist print, it was like water and fire meeting, and there was a sizzling sound immediately. But in the blink of an eye, the golden fist print was corroded and disappeared. And the remaining yin power rushed directly to the mysterious boy. Just a pity. Following the appearance of a golden light shield in front of the mysterious boy, it directly blocked this yin force. Standing behind the light shield, the mysterious boy's eyes fell on the purple halo that was circling Tang Ge. He was secretly shocked, but his face became more and more cold on the surface. I didn't expect that your first one was a 1,000-year soul ring, so I can't let you go. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host. You shocked Zhu King, Jinring Su, and gained, shock points. The system beep suddenly sounded. It really is him, her? Hearing the name appearing in the system notification tone, Tang Ge's eyes lit up. As early as the beginning, when he felt the sacred aura on the other party, he had doubts. Now coupled with the system's verification, the identity of the mysterious boy is clear at a glance. Jinring Su, the daughter of Pope Ibidong of the Wuhan Palace. At the same time, she is now the first prince of the Heaven Dao Empire. Tang Ge never expected that he would meet Jinriksu in the hunting soul forest at this time. But although he couldn't figure it out, it didn't prevent Tang Ge from satisfying some of his little thoughts. For example, beat up Jinriksu severely. On the opposite side, the mysterious young man Jinriksu disguised as Zhu King didn't know that his identity had been found out. She just felt that when the boy opposite was looking at her, his eyes suddenly became hot. As if I had been stripped naked, I was extremely uncomfortable. Jinriksu's complexion suddenly sank, and she scolded softly. Court death. Immediately, another yellow halo emerged from her body. But this time before Jinriksu could make a move, Tang Ge used the word Zing first. Accompanied by the extreme speed, he instantly disappeared in place, and when he reappeared, he was already standing on Jinriksu's back. Heaven Divine Fist, a deep voice sounded, followed by a sacred and vast aura. Tang Ge punched out, and the condensed milky white light punched fiercely at Jinriksu's heart. Jinriksu couldn't help being startled by the wind of fist blowing towards her face with a strong sacred aura. At this moment, she felt as if she was facing her grandfather. Could it be that the other party is from the same race as me? But at this moment, Jinriksu was not allowed to think too much. Seeing that the holy light fist was approaching, the second soul ring suddenly lit up. Behind her faintly appeared wings, and then the whole person entered a state of nothingness. This is Jinriksu's second soul skill, Wings of Nothingness. In this state, it is almost immune to attacks from the opponent, and its own speed will also increase. But at the moment when Tang Ge's fist radiating with divine light touched her heart, Jinriksu's complexion suddenly changed. How is it possible? How could he hurt me? Who the hell are you? For a moment, Jinriksu couldn't help looking at Tang Ge, and spoke angrily. At the same time, a third spirit ring unexpectedly appeared under her feet. And it was also a purple 1000-year spirit ring. But seeing this scene, Tang Ge laughed out loud. Ha, it's late. Immediately, a white beam of light suddenly appeared from above, pouring directly into Jinriksu's body. Jinriksu's frightened expression froze slightly, and the injury in her body recovered instantly. At the same time, there was a wave of extreme comfort, which made her groan, and a seductive expression of enjoyment appeared on her face. Seeing this, Tang Ge didn't show mercy. Taking advantage of the fact that Jinriksu hadn't broken free from the soul skill limitation of pleasure after breaking out of the nothingness, he directly turned his fist into palm and clasped the opponent's slender neck. Then Tang Ge lifted his arm up and then swung it down again. Hearing a dull and loud bang, Jinriksu, who was in a joyful state, was immediately slammed to the ground by him. The ground was directly sunken into a human-shaped imprint. Click. At this moment, it was as if something broke suddenly, and then, in Tang Ge's sight, Jinriksu's short golden hair instantly turned into long hair like a waterfall. Even her original extremely handsome face turned into a peerless face like a fairy. The flat body also swelled rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, two majestic mountains were propped up, crumbling. Tang Ge couldn't help but wiped his eyes to make sure he read it right. This Jinriksu is really a beauty. Although she is not very old, she already has some looks of her mother Bibidong. It's a pity that it has now fallen into his own hands. Thinking of this, Tang Ge couldn't help but smile smugly. Looking at Jinriksu, who was knocked unconscious by the blow he just hit, he raised his hand and slapped it down so hard. Ask for a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 48 Appearance, 10,000 Years Soul Beast. Clap clap clap. In the quiet valley, accompanied by the whistling of the wind, there were bursts of extremely rhythmic flapping sounds. Jinriksu, who was in a coma, was lying on the ground unresponsive. Her originally charming face was covered with dust, and her long blonde hair like a waterfall was in a mess. And Tang Ge squatted beside her, and slapped her buttocks with great strength. Every time I feel Q-bomb. Tang Ge didn't even want to stop. Not only that, in order not to leave any traces, he would occasionally use the yang power that activated the joyful soul skill to treat Jinriksu. So in the end, Tang Ge played well. Jinriksu, who was in a coma, was treated along with her injuries. Not only did she not leave any scars on her skin, but her face became flushed even when she was comfortable. However, it may be because he has the soul power of the sacred attribute. As the number of treatments increased, Jinriksu's resistance to this restrictive soul ability gradually increased, and finally as her injuries completely improved, she suddenly opened her eyes. Tang Ge's raised hand froze in midair, and then he retreated quickly. As soon as he retreated, The place where he was staying was directly blasted into a deep pit by a golden light fist. At some point, Jin Ringsu stood up from the ground. She looked at herself, who had returned to her real appearance and her strange body, and suddenly raised her head to stare at Tang Ge. "What did you do to me just now?" Jin Ringsu's face was as frosty as she said through gritted teeth. Tang Ge shrugged. "I didn't do anything. Not only that, but I also treated your injury. How is it? Do you feel very comfortable?" "Go to hell," Jin Ringsu erupted all of a sudden. At this moment, she had no reservations at all, as 2 yellow and 1 purple soul rings rose from her feet. 6 snow-white wings suddenly appeared behind the golden light. "Wuhan, the seraphs are here." Accompanied by the wing cave, Jin Ringsu began to rise from the ground bit by bit. This seems to be a big move. Seeing this, Tang Ge couldn't help but frown, and his eyes showed seriousness. But immediately under his feet, 2 purple soul rings all emerged, and the yin and yang power of the Wuhan yin-yang life and death diagram gradually turned into a huge yin-yang array diagram. Tang Ge stood on the yin-yang formation and rose from the ground following the yin-yang formation at time. The two stood at a height of tens of meters above the ground, with a distance of more than 10 meters. They looked at each other, as if lightning collided together, and the void suddenly fluctuated violently. The atmosphere suddenly became extremely cold. But at this moment, a system prompt sounded suddenly in Tang Ge's mind. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Jin Ringsu and gained, shock points. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, you shocked Jin Ringsu and gained, shock points." 1 is the previous reminder. 1 is a reminder now. But it was such a notification sound that not only raised Tang Ge's original shock value of more than 7,000 to more than, points, but also made him laugh so much that he almost couldn't help it. Looking at Jin Ringsu, whose face was covered with dust and as cold as ice, a sentence came to Tang Ge's mind involuntarily. He seemed calm, but he was actually panicked. But although he could see it, he didn't poke it, but opened his mouth lightly. "I'm not an evil soul master. You should have already seen it, so in fact, the two of us are completely raw." It's just that before Tang Ge finished speaking, there was a shocking roar of tigers in the originally quiet soul-hunting forest, and the terrifying sound waves directly set off a storm. Immediately afterwards, there was an overwhelming evil breath and bloodthirsty killing intent. The expressions of Tang Ge and Jin Ringsu, who were confronting each other, suddenly changed, and they looked directly in the direction where the roar of the tiger sounded just now. Floating at a height of tens of meters, the two of them clearly saw that countless tall trees in the hunting soul forest were falling down in pieces at an extremely fast speed. As if the ground had collapsed, smoke and dust billowed in all directions. Among them, a large number of soul beasts gathered into a herd, no longer fighting each other before, but desperately fleeing in one direction. But right now, with the roar of the tiger, there was a huge suction force, which directly rolled up a large number of fleeing soul beasts and flew back. In mid-air, these soul beasts had completely turned into dry bones, leaving only a mass of strong soul power and vitality. A giant beast suddenly descended from the sky, opened its mouth and swallowed it over the valley. Tang Ge and Jin Ringsu finally saw the giant beast clearly. It was a giant tiger with a jet black body, black wings on its back and a scorpion tail. But precisely because they saw it clearly, both of them couldn't help but gasped. Tang Ge opened his mouth in surprise. This is the dark Douluo tiger? Isn't it in the starred-out Great Forest? Why did it suddenly appear in the hunting soul forest? It's no wonder that Tang Ge lost his position. It's really because the giant tiger in the distance is not an ordinary soul beast, but a dark devil and evil god tiger with a soul age of 10,000 years. Tang Ge has understood the plot, and knows that the dark Douluo tiger in the distance is a top soul beast in the Stardow forest. Even the, level soul beast Sky Blue Bull Python and Titan Giant Ape couldn't do anything to each other. But now, this top-level soul beast with a soul age of 10,000 years has come to the hunting soul forest. Could it be that it is free to come out to play the autumn wind? More than 10 meters away, Jin Ringsu heard Tang Ge's exclamation. Although she had never heard the name of the dark Douluo tiger, she could feel the strong evil aura that filled the soul beast in the distance, as well as the black light that appeared when it used its soul power. This is the light of soul power that only 10,000-year soul beasts have. Jin Ringsu was extremely shocked. Moreover, She even instinctively thought that the sudden appearance of a 10,000-year spirit beast in the hunting soul forest had something to do with the mysterious boy on the opposite side. Just as she was thinking, a sound of urging suddenly reached her ears. "That silly girl, run quickly. Didn't you see the big guy running over? Could it be that you want to be eaten by it, and then become a pile of feces pulled down by it?" Jinriksu came back to her senses, and immediately saw the young man on the opposite side flying towards the distance with a scroll. Then she looked back again, trembling with fright, and followed after her. In the depths of the soul-hunting forest, the dark Douluo tiger is constantly devouring soul beasts, using the absorbed soul power and vitality to heal the wounds in its body. Suddenly, the dark Douluo tiger seemed to notice something, and a pair of evil eyes immediately looked into the distance. In its perception, there was a weak but extremely annoying aura, and the other breath is full of strong vitality. The dark Douluo tiger felt that as long as it devoured this life force, not only would his injuries improve, but his strength would also improve. At that time, it can return to the starred-out Great Forest and find those two hateful guys to avenge its shame. Please recommend, ask for a reward. End of this chapter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Method. Roar. For a moment, the dark Douluo tiger couldn't help letting out an excited roar, and after scaring to death a bunch of weak soul beasts, it jumped into the air and chased after the two auras it sensed. The dark and evil wings flapped, and gusts of wind were set off along the way, and the forest below fell in pieces. There is an evil breath emanating. The eyes of the infected soul beasts suddenly turned red, as if losing their minds. They began to fight each other. And the large number of soul master teams who ventured in the soul hunting forest did not expect this kind of thing to happen, and died tragically in the mouth of the soul beast before they could react. But more are starting to flee to the forest desperately. In mid-air, more than 100 meters away from the valley, Tang Ge and Jinriksu, who were fleeing far away, had already stopped at this moment. It wasn't that they didn't want to escape, but that there was no way to escape. The dark Douluo tiger is catching up. Even if the dark Douluo tiger with pitch-black wings and a soul age of 10,000 years did not go all out, it would only take a few breaths to catch up with Tang Ge and Jinriksu. Its huge mountain-like tiger body appeared tens of meters away, and the terrifying aura it emitted made the two of them almost unable to breathe. How to do? After all, Jinriksu was only a 16-year-old girl. Even though she had many years of experience in disguise, she couldn't help but panic at this moment. She couldn't help but ask Tang Ge in a low voice. After Tang Ge heard it, he couldn't complain. "Sister, I am a 7-year-old child. Why are you asking me the other way now?" But he was just thinking about it in his heart, knowing that now was not the time to be talkative, so he directly made a decisive decision. "This dark Douluo tiger is obviously coming towards the two of us. If you don't want to die, you should use all your strength to fight to the death." Having said that, Tang Ge had already quietly hidden a talisman in his sleeve. The talisman is exactly the traversing talisman drawn earlier. Next, as long as there is any danger of death, he is ready to use this talisman directly to send the dark Douluo tiger to other worlds. Use it yourself? Tang Ge is not stupid. Of course, in addition to the 10,000 worlds traversing talisman, Tang Ge also has this Huxin sword at the bottom of the box. But he wouldn't use it unless it was absolutely necessary. Otherwise, if he hadn't killed the dark Douluo tiger, he would be backlashed to death first, which would be uncomfortable. On the side, Jinriksu naturally didn't know what Tang Ge was thinking. After she heard the other party's words that she was about to fight to the death, without any hesitation, 3 soul rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, immediately emerged from her feet. Driven by the soul power, a rich golden light enveloped Jinriksu. The last 6 wings flapped violently, leading her directly into golden light shadow, condensed from huge fist marks, and ruthlessly blasted towards the dark Douluo tiger dozens of meters away. This is Jinriksu's 3rd soul skill. Even though Tang Ge had beaten Jinriksu violently just now, he couldn't help but secretly marvel in his heart when he saw this blow from the other party. What a strong punch. It's just that this idea just came into being, and Jinriksu, who had just rushed in front of the dark Douluo tiger, was directly slapped down by the opponent. Boom! Accompanied by a deafening bang, A burst of smoke rose into the sky. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge's heart twitched violently. But even so, he still gritted his teeth and rushed towards the dark Douluo tiger, ready to try how strong he could be with his desolate holy body plus the wordsing in heaven god fist erupting, boom. For a while, Tang Ge stepped into the void with the physique of the ancient holy body, and there was a sudden explosion immediately afterwards. The extreme speed broke through the space, causing waves of space ripples. In the end, he enveloped his fist with sacred aura, condensing an extremely powerful fist shadow. The moment he rushed in front of the dark Douluo tiger, Tang Ge suddenly shouted, "Heaven Divine Fist!" At the same time, he also secretly released a breath of Zeuxin sword. As soon as the breath of Zeuxin sword came out, the world suddenly changed color. The dark Douluo tiger, which was originally full of teasing in its eyes, was not only affected, but also froze with its huge body, and a look of horror appeared on its ferocious face. Even Jinrixu, who just flew out of the deep pit below, looked at Tang Ge with her beautiful eyes regardless of her distress. She was filled with shock. A year ago, an astonishing aura that caused a change in the sky appeared, shocking countless powerful people. Jinrixu was informed by her mother that she came to Nodding City as the eldest prince of the Heaven Dao Empire, and began to investigate the cause of the incident. But a year has passed. Seeing that she was about to give up, she never expected to be here, and once again felt the same astonishing atmosphere as a year ago. And this aura suddenly appeared on the young man in front of him. Who is he? Why can he display the same sacred attack method as the angel family? At this moment, Jinrixu suddenly had the idea of leaving the Heaven Dao Empire to find her grandfather. But just as he was thinking, a terrifying and angry roar suddenly resounded. Jinrixu looked up, and immediately saw that the nose of the incomparably huge dark Douluo tiger was spraying blood. At the same time, a figure was directly blown away by the shock wave generated by the roar just now. This person can actually hurt a 10,000-year soul beast. Jinrixu couldn't help being shocked again. But looking at the figure that was about to hit the mountain behind, she gritted her teeth and flapped her 6 wings, chasing after him quickly. In mid-air, the roar just now directly rolled Tang Ge continuously, and he couldn't stop it. Behind is a huge mountain peak. Seeing that he was about to hide him, a figure flew towards him suddenly, hugged him and then forcibly slid 7 or 8 meters away before finally stopping. "Are you okay?" At the same time, another pleasant but somewhat cold voice sounded next to his ear. Tang Ge rubbed his bewildered head from the shock, turned around and saw that it was Jinrixu who was hugging his waist, and shook his head immediately. "It's fine for the time being, but if we can't solve the 10,000-year soul beast, we will have something to do." At this time, Jinrixu also realized that she was still holding Tang Ge. Her pretty face blushed slightly, and she quickly let go. After retreating 2 meters, her face returned to indifference, and her eyes fell on the dark Douluo tiger in the distance. Perhaps because of Tang Ge's punch just now, the dark Douluo tiger finally got completely angry. As the thunder burst out, a strong evil breath was continuously released from it. Seeing this scene, Jinrixu's face was heavy, and she said, "It has an extremely evil aura, and the sacred aura can restrain it. It's a pity that I'm not strong enough. If my grandfather was here, even if he couldn't defeat this 10,000-year spirit beast, he could still repel it." Holy breath? Hearing Jinrixu's words, Tang Ge's heart moved, and he suddenly thought of the feather from the holy case that he had kept in the system space. Ask for recommendations every day, ask for a reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 50 Holy Keisha, Heaven Blade Trial. Tang Ge never knew how to use the feather from the holy Kesa, the king of angels of the super seminary, that he had drawn. It's not that he didn't use his soul power to try to activate it, but unfortunately there was no response. Now that Jinrixu suddenly mentioned the sacred attribute soul power, Tang Ge suddenly remembered the heavenly god fist he used before. Comparing the two, the breath is exactly the same. Might work. Therefore, Tang Ge's heart moved, and the sacred Kesha's feather that he had originally placed in the system space appeared directly in his right hand. Immediately, an extremely strong sacred breath was released from the feathers. Even the evil aura that was constantly surging around was instantly purified. Not far away, Jinrixu widened her beautiful eyes when she felt the appearance of this sacred aura. She stared fixedly at the feathers and Singer Tang, as if she was facing the gods her family believed in. Her body trembled uncontrollably. How do you have this thing? How is this possible?" The system prompt sounded again in my mind. It's just that Tang Ge didn't bother to pay attention to this point, nor did he pay attention to Jinriksu's shock. As soon as he took out the feather, he directly activated the heavenly fist to attract the power of heaven, and poured it into the feather continuously. Finally, this feather of holy Kesa seemed to have absorbed enough energy, and the golden light suddenly rose. It flew directly out of Tang Ge's palm and flew into the sky. Then, under the watchful eyes of Tang Ge and Jinriksu, this feather suddenly released a golden light. The two were so stabbed that they couldn't help closing their eyes. But this golden light didn't last long. When Tang Ge and Jinriksu opened their eyes again, they saw a figure completely condensed by divine power after countless golden lights contracted. This is a woman who also has long golden hair like a waterfall. But unlike Jinriksu, the woman who appeared not only had a peerless appearance, but also exuded a noble and sacred aura from all over her body. Just standing there, she seemed to represent the center of the world, eye-catching yet sacred and inviolable. There is a pair of snow-white wings behind her, gently flapping to set off waves of holy wind and waves. She is the Holy Keisha, who is known as the King of Angels and King of Gods in the Super Seminary. Actually summoned the Holy Kesa? Although he already knew through the system that the Holy Kesa in front of him was only condensed from that one feather, Tang Ge was still extremely surprised. It turns out that feathers are used in this way. But then Tang Ge felt a little distressed again. A whole card that he finally drew was used up. As for Jinriksu not far away, she was completely stunned when she saw the appearance of the Holy Kesa. The appearance of a real angel god directly set off a shocking storm in her heart far away. The dark Devilga tiger's nose had stopped bleeding, and its scarlet eyes were staring closely at the figure in the opposite high sky, filled with its extremely disgusting aura. It has a soul age of 10,000 years and feels a strong crisis from this figure. Without hesitation, the dark Devilga tiger suddenly roared, flapping its pitch-black wings, and rushed over. The strong evil power quickly condensed, forming an evil cloud around the dark Devilga tiger. At the same time, thunderbolts descended one after another, directly enveloping the area within a radius of, meters. Seeing this scene, Tang Ge was so frightened that he quickly pulled Jinriksu, who was still in a daze, back quickly, and retreated several miles away in the blink of an eye. Where they were originally, only Holy Keisha was left standing quietly. She finally turned around slowly, and her indifferent eyes fell on the dark Devilga tiger who was rapidly approaching this way. All evil must be purified, whispering voices emanated from the mouth of Holy Keisha. Immediately, she raised her palm lightly, and then patted it lightly. Boom! The dense sacred power spurted out, and a palm that covered the sky suddenly condensed, covering the dark Devilga tiger within it. In an instant, the cloud of evil surrounding the dark Devilga tiger was scattered and purified. Then the sacred giant palm continued to press down, and slap fiercely on the dark Devilga tiger's body. Ow! The intense damage caused by the intrusion of the holy power into the body made the dark Devilga tiger let out a mournful roar. Its huge body was like a collapsing mountain, falling heavily into the forest below. As for the countless falling thunders, they were blocked by a golden light curtain before approaching the Holy Keisha. For a time, countless thunders exploded, adding a bit of majesty to the Holy Keisha. Tang Ge, who had already had several miles away, floated in the air and saw clearly what happened just now. He was really amazed at the Holy Keisha, who slapped the dark Devilga tiger off with a slap. What a powerful king of angels! This is just a clone of the other party condensed by feathers. If the real body comes, the true god of this world may not be able to stop it. It's just that I don't know if the dark Devilga tiger is dead at this moment. As soon as Tang Ge thought of this, Tang Ge saw a black shadow suddenly soaring into the sky in the distance that was originally the smoke and dust caused by the falling of the dark Devilga tiger. Immediately afterwards, he felt that the whole world seemed to quiet down suddenly, and his consciousness froze for a moment. After Tang Ge got out of this uncomfortable state of stagnation, he immediately saw that the golden mask on the outside of the Holy Keisha, who had the upper hand, had shattered. Her entire body fell into the sharp claws of the dark Devilga tiger. Roar! Accompanied by a deafening roar, the dark Devilga tiger directly opened its mouth wide, biting fiercely towards the Holy Keisha who was caught in its sharp claws. Tang Ge was startled, and thought to himself, the boat won't capsize, right? Just as he was thinking, a figure suddenly passed by his side, rushing towards the dark Devilga tiger in the distance. Tang Ge came back to his senses, and suddenly found that this figure was actually Jinriksu. He couldn't help shouting, "What are you doing? Save her!" Jinriksu only replied, "Tang Ge, and resolutely accelerated the speed again. Boom. Not surprisingly, Jinring Su, who hadn't even touched the dark Devilga tiger's fur, turned into falling light again, and was slapped down by the dark Moonga tiger. Tang Ge, who came back to his senses, twitched slightly, and was about to chase down to save someone. But then he seemed to notice something. He stopped suddenly, and looked back at the holy Kesa, who was being caught by the dark Devilga tiger in the distance. At some point, a dazzling golden light burst out from holy Kesa's body again. This golden light turned into a beam of light that soared into the sky, and then gradually condensed, turning into a sky-reaching long sword burning with vigorous holy flames. At the same time, accompanied by tremors in the void, another faceless knight also condensed from golden light appeared behind the sky-reaching sword. The moment it stretched out its hands and tightly grasped the hilt of the long sword, a soft drink that shocked the soul suddenly sounded from the sky and the earth. Skyblade Judgment, I want to say a word to my brothers and sisters who only comment and don't vote for recommendation. Don't hesitate, hit me hard with a recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.